Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Order the meeting of the Fitchburg Common Council on December 10th, 2024 at 7:35 p.m. The first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is roll call.
Thank you. Alder Allen.
Present.
Mayor Radafrada.
Here.
Alder Dantzler Jr.
Here.
Alder Gerhardt.
Here.
Alder Herbst.
Here.
Alder Jetzer.
Here.
Alder Maldonado.
Here.
Alder Vafadari.
She's online, but may have stepped away.
She is online. Alder Wheeler is absent with excuse. You do have a quorum.
And just for public information, the mayor is present, but since she is remote, I am going to chair this meeting. Next item of business is number 4, public appearances for non-agenda items and new appointments. First, I will start. I don't believe we have anyone for non-agenda items. You'd like to speak on non-agenda items? Okay, we'll do that first. So we have quite a lot of comments today. We're going to keep it to 3 minutes, and I will cut you off at exactly 3 minutes. So please keep in mind, and I will cut you off. So we're timing it, and once you introduce yourself, we'll start the timer.
So we've got a rare opportunity to line up a bunch of comprehensive plan issues. So I'll take my 3 minutes on each one and go light on this one. So there are a lot of very significant legal, procedural, and substantive issues with the procedures that the city has actually not adopted. And this is an opportunity to go through them, and I will do that in each of these. And so it's all germane to comprehensive planning. So it goes with the best tradition of addressing what the subject of the day is. And what I'll do is I'll hand out some handouts in case anybody wants to follow along. I'll just put them on the end. If you want to pass them out, great. If not, not. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Next item we're going to do a public hearing on is 4A. I'm going to open the public hearing on Ordinance 2024-028 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR 0924, adopting and recommending the Fall 2024 amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, amending Map 4.3 Future Land Use Plan Map for property located off Borchert Road, specifically from A, G, and OS, Agriculture and Open Space, to RR, Rural Residential. And I believe the only person we have on this registered is David. And you can.
This is for the one you're speaking about right now?
All right. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to go through some of the elements here. So first of all, we have the fact that the comprehensive plan revision procedures are in the comprehensive plan. And to my knowledge, that's the only place that they are. They are not in an ordinance. I can find no record of them being in a resolution or an order. And that's problematic because that means that what the council attempted to do is attempted to make them a rule of law in the city by reference from adopting the ordinance that adopts the comprehensive plan. First of all, there's a whole lot of procedures that are required for that to be valid in any case. But in particular, the statute that implements the comprehensive plan, 66-1001 2MA, says the adoption of the comprehensive plan by an ordinance does not make this ordinance a regulation. Regulation is the most generic term for something that has the force of law. We have a new opinion from the state Supreme Court in September that says that. You cannot try to make something that's in the comprehensive plan a direct regulatory piece of for the city. The comprehensive plan operates indirectly only by compatibility with. And I went through the drafter's notes for the state senator who put this amendment in, and he specifically put this in to avoid cities adopting things as ordinances by putting in the comprehensive plan and adopting the comprehensive plan. So that means that you have not adopted any procedures, and in particular, you have not adopted written plans for public participation. Adopt means, specifically in the context of the law, an ordinance, a resolution, or an order to an administrative agency of the city. So, not only have you not adopted any procedures, you have not adopted the required public participation written procedures. That makes this defective. So that's the first thing. Okay. How much time do I have?
30 seconds.
Good. Okay. Go on for the next one.
Thanks, David. You can stay there because you're gone for the second one. I believe there's no one else here for 4A. Please yell out if you are mistaken. Okay, great. I will close the public hearing on item 4A. And just for reference, we will be voting on this item, but it won't be till we get to the Plan Commission items. So hold tight. We will get to them soon. Next item is public appearances. I will open the public hearing on Ordinance 2024-029 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR 1024, adopting and recommending the Fall 2024 amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, amending Map 4.3 Land Use Plan Map for property located off Central Park Place from PNC, Parks and Conservancy, to HDR, High Density Residential. And first up is going to be David.
So it's important to understand that comprehensive planning has been around since 1941 in Wisconsin. It was called a master plan. It had several things that the state didn't like about it. It didn't have a standardized format of content. It was not mandatory, even if a city did a comprehensive plan or a master plan. The city council on a land use act by land use item could decide whether or not it had to be compatible with a comprehensive plan. And there were a few other things. But approximately 30% of Wisconsin cities had a master plan. So the legislature had a tough job. It couldn't obsolete those master plans. It couldn't obsolete the case law. It couldn't do a Y2K switchover. What it did was it took master plans, left them exactly as they are, fully and completely in the province of the Plan Commission. The state Supreme Court said they're administrative documents only. Council had nothing to do with master plans. The way that the statute reads on page 2 is that the master plan is amended, added to by the Plan Commission, and when you do that, you create a new master plan. Now, what the comprehensive planning law says is that the Plan Commission recommends that new master plan be adopted as the city's comprehensive plan. It specifically says in the law that a comprehensive plan is a master plan adopted by the Plan Commission. It completely wipes out any argument about what the council's power are, because it has to be and can only be something that's been adopted in its entirety by the Plan Commission. So if you have these 5 different sub amendments, Sorry, that's not the way it works. It's when they adopted each amendment to the comprehensive plan, it added that amendment to that comprehensive plan and created that one. Next one added to the one was just on, et cetera, et cetera. At any given time, there's one official master plan. It's a document. It is called the master plan, and it functions as the proposed comprehensive plan. All the council can do is say yes or no. And why is that? Because the comprehensive plan is supposed to be integrated, complete, coherent. If it gave you the opportunity to pick and choose, it couldn't possibly be that. And it just goes back to the master plan law. It's as simple as that. So what
That's
you're trying to
your time,
do here.
You can sit there. We'll keep you going. I don't believe we have any other comments on 4B, so I will close the public hearing, and we will move on to 4C. I open the public hearing on Ordinance 2024-030 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR 1124, adopting and recommending the Fall 2024 amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, amending Map 4.3 Future Land Use Plan Map for property located off South Seminole Highway and Lacey Road from BUS Business to HDR High Density Residential. And we'll start with David.
So this is the North Stone Prairie one?
This is, yes.
Okay. So several issues. Okay, so the way the Plan Commission is supposed to work, it's an administrative body. It's supposed to work on rules, procedures, et cetera, that already exist. It doesn't get to make law. And what are the rules, procedures, et cetera, that already exist? It's the comprehensive plan that's been adopted and the neighborhood plan. It's supposed to address every element of the neighborhood plan for every element that's in the comprehensive plan. It's supposed to talk about each one and consider the ramifications as to the criteria that's in 62.23.2, which is the master plan criteria. It did none of that. Now, we've had a tremendous amount of change and amendments in North Stone Prairie. We've got the church. One of the big things that hasn't been talked about is that originally around Great Salt Lake Sub-Zero was a very large environmental corridor that was all taken back in an amendment. Now so you want to put in apartments for how many people? And where are they going to recreate? You took away on the order of 10 to 15 acres of recreational land that was there. And then all the other amendments on it. You have to follow the procedure. The Plan Commission didn't. And if you look at the minutes of the Plan Commission, you're only entitled as a body to take evidence that's in the record of the proceedings. There are no record of the comments from the public, nor any of the discussion from the Plan Commission on the issues. Well, now that's not a problem because there was no discussion of the Plan Commission on the issues. It was opinions. I think we should have housing. I think we should do this. There was not one word talked about the elements of the comprehensive plan or the neighborhood plan. That is all against the law. That is what it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Thanks, David. I'm going to call two people up to the mic, and I'll have you speak in sequence. Tom Clowder, can you approach one of the mics? And then Brian Kenlin, if you can also approach the mic if you wish to speak. We have multiple mics. Does that make sense? Do you not wish to speak?
Not until the topic comes up, which is later in the agenda.
No, so we're doing a public hearing on this now. We're doing all the public hearings of the minor comp plan amendments at the beginning, and then we will move on to the vote at a later time. Yeah, so this is the Seminole Lacey project. 4C or 8A3 is also what it's called.
That's fine.
Tom, you have 3 minutes.
Sure. Tom Clutter, 2583 Norwich Street, City of Fitchburg, longtime resident. I just want you to know that the neighborhood, not Wildwood South where I live, but about 3 neighborhoods came together and we had 5 questions we submitted to the city. 3 of those questions were answered. 2 of them were not. you should know that even as alders, that just weren't answered. One of the questions for the traffic study had to do with, obviously, this project, and it was a lame answer. I'll tell you why. The traffic study didn't go out Seminole Highway north and south and tell us what the traffic would be. And they didn't do Lacey Road east and west at all. What was the what was the future of this project on, this was another question we had, what was the future of the project on schools, roads, public safety, and shopping? It wasn't answered. And the last one was on this apartment project, what is Fitchburg's share of the property tax each year? That's huge. Huge. It wasn't answered. So, I mean, I know you as alders don't put the agenda together, but I really shaking my head why this came about with questions that weren't even answered. And what I just said too, the Plan Commission did not answer. The same questions were at the Plan Commission, they voted on it, and they didn't even have the answers. I sat through the whole meeting. When you don't respond to the public, you're going to have problems. Keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Brian, and if you want one moment, I'm going to have Paul Tomar. Sorry, Taylor. If you would approach the mic, you'll be next. Yes, Brian, you have 3 minutes.
Yes. My name is Brian Carlin. I'm at 2915 Osmondson Road in Fitchburg. My concerns kind of go off of what he was saying in terms of the traffic issues, but my bigger concern is we're already understaffed in our law enforcement and first responders. We're continually being asked for more money to help with that. I'm in support of that, but however, now we're looking to add another 370 plus individuals to that. How are we going to deal with it? In addition to that, we're dealing with issues with speed and traffic. There's been no resolution to that yet. And I think that's near a school. So, safety. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Next after Paul is going to be Randy Hess. So if you'd come up and get ready at the mic. And Paul, you have the floor.
All right. So my name is Paul Taylor. I live in Crescent Crossing across the street from the proposed development. I live right on Minong, 2 doors in on the right, if you turn from Seminole onto Minong. So I want to talk about 2 issues of this. First of all, Seminole Highway is already, I would say, dangerous with the amount of traffic that's on it now. I work in Madison. I come home. I have to turn left onto Minong. Everybody drives around on the shoulder already, so they do not want to wait. There's a couple crosswalks across the road here where you add this kind of traffic. Seminole Highway is not currently capable of handling all of this additional traffic. I can guarantee you there will be accidents at that intersection of Minong and Seminole if it's not addressed and this thing goes through. I'm not under, and then the second thing I want to talk about is more of a global kind of comment about this. I'm not under the illusion that this piece of property is not going to be developed. I understand it's going to be developed. It's right by the city. Everything else around it's been developed. The type of housing that's being built, and this is the wrong kind of housing. Young people need to be able to buy something, so there needs to be some more ownership type of properties built. Not necessarily this project, but there's all kinds of expensive apartment buildings. There's an investor class of people that want to get into this and just turning all these young people into kind of permanent renters, paying really pretty high rents. And I just kind of am opposed to this general type of project. I grew up in Oregon, or in Fitchburg, and went to Oregon High School. So I've been around for a long time and seen all the changes. And so I'm not really pleased about turning just all this rental development that's going on. So that's kind of my second point that I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you. After Randy is next, but after that is going to be Bruce Stevens. So if you'd please get set up at the mic, and you have the floor, sir.
I want to piggyback on him. My name's Randy Hess. I'm at 2640 Osmondson. I've been a realtor for 39 years, a landlord for 38 years. I know real estate. One thing everybody keeps talking about, and I hear a lot of politicians talk about, workforce housing. What is workforce housing? Define it. And what he just said, what are we doing for that first-time home buyer? We're going to do something for workforce housing, but we're not going to do anything for that first-time buyer. Now, you, as an entity, as a government, can make a policy right now and have a moratorium on apartments and force these investors to build condominiums. And the reason why they can't is because it's 50% down versus 20 or 25%. And that's because of things that have happened back in 2012 with our government nationally. There's no funding for these people. So where can we go and get funding for these people so that they don't have to put 50% down? Well, it's called WIDA. I've talked to people at WIDA. Why aren't we providing statewide some sort of program to help these people build condominiums so these people can afford to get into their house or their own property? And we've just totally knocked it off. When's the last time a condominium development came here to this board, to this entity, and said, let's build something for first-time home buyers so they can get into the housing market? That's the first thing I'd like to say. Jumping on other thing that I would like to say, it's not an impact fee, it's a tax on the developer. So every time you see an impact fee, oh, that's great, we can use this money to build a community center. Where'd that money come from? It's a tax. So if you're going to take money from the developer, why don't we give it back to the developer so they can do something and put a condominium project into this particular community? You're taking it from them, give it back to them so they can use it. The last thing was impact study on the traffic. No one's really seemed to care about that. Thank you.
Thank you. After Bruce is going to be Rita Henricks, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the mic. And Bruce, you have the floor.
My name is Bruce Stevens, 5720 Merlin Street. Our daughter and her husband actually live on Osmondson as well. And they've actually been in Fitchburg for 12 years. So we've been here about 2.5. But anyway, the traffic is a huge issue. Lacey Road's already in ill repair. Needs to be resurfaced. Several years ago. With all this additional traffic, especially with the school there, at some point it's going to be needed to be 4-laned, as the one gentleman said. Because people are already going around. Him when he's trying to make a left-hand turn, and then you add a little bit of darkness at 4:30 and a little darkness. A little ice on the road, snow on the road. It's just an accident waiting to happen. And with the school right there, it's a not a good place. There was a reason why this was set aside as business zoning to begin with. I don't know why the Planning Commission decided to change that, but hopefully they had a good reason. But so I should probably go back and research that. But and as David was saying too, I wanted to second a lot of what David was saying, as well as Brian and the other gentleman, that there's certain rules that have to be followed. There has to be a lot of public input and everything that apparently hasn't happened on this. My wife's the one that made me aware of it, and the people that were making her aware of it said that it came out of the blue that this was going to happen and all that stuff. So, and obviously there's a lot of people here that are opposed to it. I'm all for getting, affordable housing for people, and I appreciate you all putting in your time and effort to serve the community and everything. And I know it's not an easy job to do that, so I appreciate all y'all's time and efforts to help the community out as well. But we do. It is, based on what the community needs and desires are. So Obviously, you have a lot of people here that are on one side of it, apparently. So I appreciate everybody's time and help, and thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you. After Rita is going to be Emmanuel Munoz, if you'd come up. And Rita, you have the floor.
Good evening. I'm Rita Henricks, a 20-year resident of Fitchburg. I'm asking this council to deny the change to the plan in order to prevent these 377 apartments. First, just adding a building because we need apartments without examining its impact on traffic, schools, and taxes is irresponsible. I keep hearing we need apartments. We don't even know what kind of apartments we need. Second, disregarding agreements with citizens because things change will not help citizens to trust you. Why should anyone work for what is good for their neighborhood, their city, or even the greater area? Why should they donate time and work on compromising if the city simply says we don't have to listen or honor those agreements? And that's exactly what is happening. This might be a nice plan. It isn't in the right place. We might need more apartments, but is this the right type, the right number of bedrooms, the right rent level, etc.? What exactly are you saying to Fitchburg residents? Do realtors and developers carry more power than citizens? When we moved here 20 years ago, we felt we counted. We felt that it was important to speak up, not only for ourselves, but for our neighbors, for people we didn't know, but people who were in our community. Now I'm being told that I don't count, that I should shut up. I shouldn't have a say because no one cares to listen. People are saying, hey, let's examine this. This might be a wonderful plan, but just because a developer wants to make money isn't a reason why we would disregard everything else to hand him his profit. Thank you.
Thank you. Emmanuel?
Hello, my name is Emmanuel Munoz Monsalve. I'm an investment finance professional, and my wife is a project manager in the city, working for companies in the city. And first, I understand that the court doesn't come here with any malicious intent, and I appreciate you all being able to hear us out. One thing that I do understand, my time being in Fitchburg, we've bought and sold a home in Crescent Crossing, and we're building a home in another Viridian neighborhood. At this point, I'm just following my wife's orders. So we understand that there's limited land in the capital city, and Fitchburg is uniquely locationally poised between Verona's Epic and downtown, with the artery being Verona Highway. And specifically on this ordinance, I was at a meeting at Blackhawk Church with the father and son duo proposing the apartments and the recreational facility, and I thought it was a great idea. I mean, honestly, it's formulaic. More housing units will help quell demand and take steps towards solving the housing crisis. So while I admire everyone that's came and told us what young people want, 5 years ago I would have been renting an apartment across from Seminole Highway before I would have bought a house, and then began to build my second house. So I've made Fitchburg my home, and I foresee many more like me doing the same. And I think we should make it a top-tier suburb of Madison. But like I said, I do admire everybody's comments on this, but I humbly disagree. And that's me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We will move to people online shortly, but I just wanted to read out a couple of... Kaylin McDaniel registers only in opposition. Send an email out as well to the council. Thomas Thorson, I believe, registers in opposition. He sent a letter to the council on both this item and on the 4E coming up, and that letter was handed out to the council. We also had some emails come in for people that requested to be read out. Colleen Chase registered in opposition. Aaron Richardson registered in opposition. And then a group letter, several of these people have already spoken, but the rest of the people that hadn't spoken, Pete Lundberg, Dan Barr, John Easterday, and Michael Ejercito, all registered in opposition. There were several other emails, but they did not specifically ask to be read out. And now we can move to those online. I will start with Sue Easterday, and then after Sue will be Jay.
There it is, trying to get my video going. Hi, I'm Sue Easterday, 2731 Osmondson Road. What I'll read is from both my husband and me, and this is regarding the apartment complex. We oppose this. Advocates claim that the Plan Commission's approval of the request is correct because there's a countywide initiative to address a desperate need for more housing units. True or not, Fitchburg is oversaturated with rental units, which comprise 50% of our total residential units. If there is a need, then our neighboring communities should provide. To anyone new to this body, you should be aware that a similar project in this North Stoner Prairie neighborhood was approved by the Plan Commission a few years ago and was ultimately rejected by the council. Fitchburg is currently planning 2 more neighborhoods. Why do this planning when we find ourselves here for the second time since North Stoner Prairie neighborhood was approved? If you're going to ignore the neighborhood planning committee's work, why should citizens volunteer their time? We've heard from several people who live in our neighborhood. We are in the Wildwood neighborhood about this current plan, and they feel the same. The words used are distrust and betrayal about local government. Many people we know voted against the recent referendum as they saw it as a disconnect between the claim that high-density residential reduces tax burden, yet we're oversaturated with high density, and we had the city asking us to provide more tax money. I realize it's more complicated than that, but this is the remark I heard most from neighbors and friends. The Common Council should answer to its own citizens and not to the demands of Dane County or developers or the unelected Plan Commission. And I just wanted to, a prior citizen asked the question, where is everyone to recreate? And it made me think of something I'd like to add is that I am on the Parks Commission and am aware that the park for this entire neighborhood, it's a large area park, and it's on the opposite side of Seminole Highway. So when you look at the plan and the place where there's a request to add 377 apartments, there's a reason why that all of that was business zoning. Business on one side of the street, residential on the other. And this is why there's now a nearly 14-acre beautiful park planned that will have difficult access from these apartments. It's on the wrong side of a busy highway that's only going to be busier once South Stoner Prairie is planned and developed.
Sue, that's your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jay, you're up.
Thank you.
Jay, you're muted.
Sorry. Thank you for the opportunity to appear tonight, and thank you for taking time to listen to all these comments. I'd like to share a few things that I don't think been covered before. This proposal, we really, I think, at this point in time, there are 74 people who've signed a petition in the past 8 days asking that this project be stopped at this point in time. And the reason for that is quite simple. There has not been enough analysis of the impacts of this project on the infrastructure of the city, the schools, and the costs and benefits of this project vis-a-vis what was planned in a neighborhood plan that was approved 12 years ago. Sue's point is well taken. This was designated for business. I believe it was the only property designated for business in the North Stoner Prairie neighborhood plan. And it remains vacant, and obviously the highest value of it right now is 377 apartments. But this may not be in the best interest of citizens of the city of Fitchburg. And we hope really that you take a look at this, take a step back, do an evaluation of the impacts, and also allow more public opportunity. This was unveiled at a meeting this summer, came to the Plan Commission in early October. It's here now, but it really has not had the opportunity to be understood and vetted. And as an example is a traffic study. There was a traffic study done for this project. It only looked at the intersection of Monong and Seminole Highway and also the area of Seminole fronting on the parcel. There are many other intersections east on Lacey and north on Seminole that will be impacted by the 3,600 vehicles that are projected to be coming in and out of this facility on weekdays. And these impacts are significant. Many of those intersections are already overloaded. And it would be very beneficial, I think, to residents to understand the impacts. Now, perhaps there are no impacts. Perhaps 3,600 vehicles a day is going to be easily handled by these intersections, but perhaps not. And if so, then who's going to pay for that? And finally, I'd like to emphasize one thing that former Mayor Clowder mentioned. We've asked, we're still not getting an answer. What is the Fitchburg share of the revenue from the property taxes of this property? How much money is Fitchburg actually going to realize from having 377 apartment units on this property?
Jay, that's your time. Thank you so much. I have no more items on 4C, so I'm going to close the public hearing. And I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on Ordinance 2024-031 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR 1224, adopting and recommending the fall 2024 amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, amending Map 4.3, future land use map plan map for property located off Notre Dame Drive and Lacey Road from MU mixed use to HDR high density residential. For reference, this item has been withdrawn by the developer and will be withdrawn when we get to that item, but public comment is still welcome. I have both Emmanuel and David Haight registered to speak, so if you would still like to speak, if you could both come up to the mic and whoever gets there first wins.
Water, I'll be a little bit more understandable. So the purpose of the comprehensive plan is actually still in the purpose statement for the master plan, and it reads, the master plan shall be made with the general purpose of guiding and accomplishing a coordinated, adjusted, and harmonious development of the municipality, which is, will, in accordance with existing and future needs, best promote public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or the general welfare, as well as efficiency and economy in the process of development. That's the standard that the Plan Commission is held to when it approves something. I've never heard that talked about. I've never heard it addressed. I've never heard those subcomponents addressed at all. And I think there's a common theme. The question is, what happened to the planning in the city? Okay, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to go to the second page of the League of Wisconsin Municipalities opinion, which I think the third page from the back. So what does it say? It says, Section 6223 provides it shall be the function and duty of the Plan Commission to make and adopt a master plan and show the Commission's recommendations for the physical development and must contain at least the elements described in, etc. Okay. So the question is, what happened to the planning? Well, let's go to the amendment procedures that are in the comprehensive plan, which are not a regulation, by the way. It says that it's restricted to the Plan Commission may only consider amendments that are either the mayor, 3 alders, or the planning staff. It can't even do planning and recommend its own amendments. So we're on the very last page now, the minor amendments procedures. Okay? So this body is not a sovereign. It's not the U.S. Congress. It's not the state legislature. It's a municipal corporation. You have a charter. The Constitution and state law says that where the state legislates, the city may legislate only if it, 1, does not directly contravene the state statute, 2, does not obviate the purpose of the state statute, and 3, does not go against the spirit of the state statute. And what does the spirit of the state statute? I just read it to you, for the Plan Commission to do those things. So what you've got now is a situation where the Plan Commission does nothing but accept proposals from developers and say yes or no based on no information. How is that possible, you ask? Good question. But I will point out that what is the statutory function of an individual council member? Nothing. An individual council member has no more power in this city than any citizen. None. And
David, your time is up. And just to sit tight, I'll have you go first with the next item. Emmanuel, you have the floor.
No, I want to say that it's a pleasure sharing the podium with David here. He's such a researched and passionate individual. It's good to see people like that. I don't know. So it's just a pleasure, David. I just want to say that I wish more young people would come to things like this. Like, I think I found this on YouTube, and kind of one of the main outlets that young people use, and I just kind of fell into wanting to know more of the procedures in Fitchburg, Wisconsin. But I just want to say, kind of back on the idea of like high density housing, I believe it's easy to reject these sort of ideas when much of the people in this room have decades of building equity in their homes and may have bought their homes hundreds of thousands of dollars below what it was worth post 2020. And before, if me and my wife would have bought a home before 2020 or maybe 10 years ago, like, we would have been in a much different situation or circumstance we're in now. But it's housing is housing, and not our young people just want to go straight and buy. A lot of times we want to rent and just have an affordable place to live that's near our work, whether it be Epic, Exact Sciences, True Stage, or any company that we work that brought us here. And I'm not saying that we're going to solve the American housing problem in Fitchburg, Wisconsin, but we can give it a shot to make it more equitable for young people and people of all ages to have a place that they can live and not have to worry about, the older buildings here in Madison, which I'm from Savannah, Georgia, and apartments there are a little bit newer and have central heating and air and have laundry in unit. Maybe that's because the apartments, the South took a little bit longer to develop, but so I just want to let any young people know that are watching this, or to please be more present in things like this. And yeah, so that's all I had on that.
Thank you. And with that, I'm going to close the public hearing on item 4D. And I will open the public hearing on Ordinance 2024-027 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR 0824, adopting and recommending the Fall 2024 Amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, amending text on page 5.3 to revise the minor amendments procedures to require approval of a minor amendment by Plan Commission and Council. David is going to be up first, and after David will be, actually we'll go online after. So Sue, you will be up, and then Jay after that. David, you have the floor.
So finish up on the last. So since the Plan Commission is an administrative body, it exercises administrative discretion in its decisions. Does not have legislative discretion. Legislative discretion is exercised by the council in legislative matters. So for administrative hearings, there must not be an impermissible level of bias. Okay, so we have council members who sponsored the amendment, one of which I believe sits on the Plan Commission, and specifically during the procedure for the North Stoner Prairie, it was mentioned by one of the Plan Commission members that we should approve this because both of the council members whose district North Stoner Prairie in has approved it. So there you go. That's not just the possibility. That is straight up bias. That invalidates that procedure. Okay, that's one. Okay, so the other question that you have to ask is, how can, if all this is wrong, how did we get here? How is it possible? Good question, okay? So I looked at the materials for the discussion of this particular item, the minor amendment. And so the document was from Mr. Hovell, who I don't believe was an attorney, and said, wasn't quite sure, talked to the planning community, and this is what he thinks. Then there was a letter from a third-party attorney who said, I'm going on vacation, I don't have time for this, goodbye. Okay? And then the League of Wisconsin Municipalities opinion does not talk to the amendment procedures. It talks to, does the council have the ability to change things? Okay, so first of all, the power that the council has comes either from the Constitution or it comes from statute. It is an axiom of legislative law that a legislative body cannot prevent itself from or abdicate its power to do something. If you have something, if you have the power to change, you have the power to change. It doesn't matter what you pass or what someone else passes. That's just straight up basic legislative law. So why are we even messing with this? Why does the city attorney say that we should even be thinking about these things and offering amendments for something that you can't do? You can't enjoin other councils or yourself from acting on your statutory or constitutional rights. That's your job, not to abdicate it. Something is fundamentally wrong here. We have laws being violated and everyone looking around and going, seems okay to me, but it's not. There's a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Sue Easterday, you're going to be up, and in the room, Tom Clouder and Rita Brooks-Henrick are going to be after the online people, so if you would make your way to the mic in just a minute, that would be great. Sue, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. I have one final sentence or comment regarding 4C, and then I'll go to 4E. One plan commissioner at that meeting where it was the apartments were discussed stated that rents at the building were equivalent to a mortgage on a $400,000 home. And I believe those renters might rather buy a $400,000 home or condo than give that to a landlord. So I'm just not convinced that this type of building helps anybody much except for the property owner. So on to 4E. My husband and I, we oppose this change to the city's comprehensive plan. You do have a thorough discussion of the drawbacks to this proposal before you as presented by a group of citizen petitioners. For those of you on the council who may not be familiar with past difficulties surrounding which body has final say on plan commission decisions or planning decisions, please be aware that the Plan Commission previously approved a change to high-density residential in North Stoner Prairie neighborhood, this very neighborhood, after it had been previously planned and approved differently, with all the business on one side of Seminole Highway and all the residential on the other. What followed was a very public power struggle between the Council and Plan Commission as they weren't in agreement on the change. Citizens presented well over 100 signatures to lobby the Common Council to amend the comp plan, asking that the council have final say to planning decisions. The council agreed. In the ensuing years, there's been little outcry about the process. An unanswered question about this proposal is why and why now? Our thoughts on this are speculative, but you may know why. We watched a speech by Kamala Harris recently given to supporters. She emphasized that we shouldn't let others take our power from us, that we shouldn't give our power away. We agree with that statement. It should be obvious that what you once see as an advantage can often become a disadvantage at a future time. We hope that you, our elected officials, most directly answerable to us, will retain the power of final say for planning matters on behalf of all of your constituents, not just landowners or developers. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Jay, you have the floor. And Tom, if you'd make your way up to the mic while he's talking.
Thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight, and thank you for listening to all the input you're receiving. This proposal, we really, really hope, and I say we, I'm talking about the 8 people, including myself, who sent a lengthy email to the council members yesterday explaining why this proposal should be turned down. And by way of a little background, the basis for this, it started in 2018 with controversy surrounding a comp plan amendment for the North Stoner Prairie in the North Stoner Prairie neighborhood. After over a year of struggles and back and forth between the Plan Commission and the council, eventually the council approved something that the Plan Commission approved, which went into effect and resulted in the Crescent Crossing neighborhood. Now, both bodies concurred with that comp plan amendment eventually. But during that process, it became apparent there was a fatal flaw in the comp plan that existed prior to 2020. And in March of 2020, the comp plan was changed to include the current language that's there that basically says the council has the final say on comp plan amendments. So if the Plan Commission recommends something that the council doesn't agree with, the council can change it and order publication of that ordinance. They do not have to go back to the Plan Commission. Now, they may want to for a variety of reasons, and we don't have a problem with that. Our problem is the council should have the final say on comp plan amendments. They are 9 people elected by the citizens of Fitchburg. They are not appointed people, and they should not have, the council should not have to get the concurrence of the Plan Commission for comp plan amendments. And the one before us in item 4C is a great example. If the council wanted to change what the Plan Commission recommended, they could do it under the current comp plan wording. But if this amendment is adopted, then again, the council will have to get the concurrence of the Plan Commission before it can adopt and publish an ordinance amending the comp plan. And so this is why I believe 72 people have signed a petition opposing this change. And this is why I would ask, and we've asked in an email yesterday, that the discussion of the 4C hearing matters and the 4E matters be moved up to follow this public hearing instead of being taken up after 4 other agenda items are discussed. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jay. Tom Clotter, you're up next. And while you're approaching the mic, if Rita would also come up, and then I will read out what people online have said, in addition to some of those people that signed onto a letter. Pete Lundberg and Dan Barr registered in opposition, and then also Aaron Richardson registered in opposition, and Tracy Bubbers registered in opposition, and a few other emails came in that did not request that their name be shared. Tom, you have the floor.
Thank you. I want to start off by saying from the mayor and the council president, thanks for doing this ahead of time. You just don't want people that come out and have to sit, and you did this the right way. I commend you for that. I think remember that in the future. When you get a full house, let people speak and go home. Thank you. A little history on this one. Besides the clerk, who's behind the mask, none of you were here 10 years ago. In the North Stoner Prairie, we fought this battle. North Stoner Prairie, we went from high density to low density. And the Plan Commission had a big say in it. And the Plan Commission wanted high density. And we had people on the Plan Commission that thought they were on the city council. We had people that they thought what they said was going to be the rule. Well, as it was, we talked about this, and believe me, we talked about it, but the city council is the one that has the final say. It's you folks. It's you. It's not the Plan Commission. And this battle, the neighbors were well up in arms. They were well up in arms with the North Stoner Prairie because it went from high density to did eventually go to low density. But we had people on the Plan Commission, and now that I think about it, I think there's only one that still might be there. That's a guess. The others are all gone. And the fact of the matter is I don't know why the mayor brought this up. It's not a minor amendment. This is not a minor amendment. This is a major amendment. I sure hope you vote it down. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Rita, you have the floor.
Thank you. As far as the Plan Commission having the power to tell the council what they can and can't do, it's absolutely ridiculous. They are appointed primarily, most of them. Who are they accountable to? Certainly not the citizens. When a commission is given that power, why have a council? Or is it so that the elected alders and mayor can say, oh, we're not to blame, we had to do it because the Plan Commission told us to? It doesn't make sense. The power should be with the elected officials. Thank you.
Thanks, Rita. And with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. And then we can move on to the next item, which is our consent agenda. I'll need a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Anything that anyone wants to pull out?
I would like to pull item 11 out, C11.
Okay. Any others? All in favor of approving the consent agenda with that one item removed, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays? Motion carries. Jay, can you talk about the item?
Yep, I would like to move referral of that, but adding the Community and Economic Development Authority to it.
Great.
Which
Anything?
it's ordinance 2024-0-37.
Any comments, Chad? Good to saw you.
I was just going to ask, I think CETA is meeting at the end of January, so we might need to take a look at the report back date and adjust that for Common Council. I'm looking at February meeting dates right now if you guys want to discuss Jay's motion.
Yeah, I have no opposition to it.
How about if we get a second?
Oh, we need a second.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would it be better to change the report back date?
Yeah, it looks like February 11th would be the report back date in order to meet the time in which the Community and Economic Development Authority is meeting, which is the fourth Thursday of January.
And that wouldn't cause any delays?
No, it actually would have reported back sooner absent CETA.
Great.
So we'll modify that to February 11th.
So I will, all in favor of moving that, referring that out with the addition to CETA and the change to the date, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, yeah, Dave.
Amend the agenda to move items 8A3 and 8A5 to next on the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, or any discussion? All in favor of amending the agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. So we're going to start with 8A3, I believe. I'll need a motion on, well, I guess, so this is a little unusual. I'm still a member of the council, even though I'm running the meeting, but should I just make the motion? Okay.
I'll do it for you.
You'll do it for me? Great, thanks, Jay.
I'll move, this is 8A3, right?
8A3, yes.
I'll move approval of ordinance 2024-0-30 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR-11-24 adopting and recommending the fall 2024 amendment to the comprehensive plan, amending map 4.3 future land use plan map for property located off South Seminole Highway and Lacey Road from business to high-density residential.
Second.
And I can confirm that Plan Commission approved. I can give a short summary of what was discussed in Plan Commission since I'm the rep. There were lots of public comments. And then the developer that is going to propose for this site, who is here and can give some comment if you'd like. But this is the potential plan is 377 market rate apartments, studio to 3 bedrooms, 270 undergrad parking, 289 surface, 75 for retail parking. This is just early plans, so I think these could have evolved. But there's also going to be first floor business on one of the buildings. Up to 3 stories is what the current plan is. There has been a traffic study, and they will have some incentives for residents to bike. Talked a little bit about stormwater requirements and wanting to increase that due to climate change. Yeah, and then there was a discussion about condo ownership and why isn't this condos? And as one of our testimony people mentioned, the bank standards changed after 2008, and you need to pre-sell 50% of the condos, which makes it very challenging to do. And it passed Plan Commission. Gus Newcomb, would you like to speak? And Deanna, I don't know if you want to share anything as well, since you're... No.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Tonight, I ask that the council approves the change of 2747 Seminole Highway from business to high-density residential. We feel that from many different perspectives, this development project is a slam dunk for the community and the city of Fitchburg at large. Many developers that do these types of projects, they ask municipalities for TIF assistance, and they do get it. We're not anticipating the need for any such assistance on this project. Many local projects only get built by developers with large city investments in infrastructure. This development project isn't requiring any investment from the city in terms of infrastructure, which would be streets, utilities, etc. This property is within proximity to grocery stores, restaurants, and bike trails, making it a clear choice for housing. Importantly, we are developers with vested interest in the community, and we have a track record that proves it. A vote yes tonight will clear barriers and allow us to get one step closer to building a beautiful project for housing in Fitchburg. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has as well. Thank you.
Great. I'll open it to the council. Dave?
There's two egresses and entrances into it. Have you looked at another option, possibly something out to Sub-Zero Parkway, so all the traffic would not have to go on to Seminole?
Yeah, we are looking at all options right now. The two egress and ingress entrances and exits into the property are two that allow us to get this many units on the site. And we're definitely open to different places that those could be located. But at this time, we're definitely just focused on getting the comprehensive plan amended, and then going through the planning process, we can discuss all of those things.
And that brings up a good point. I'll just jump into in terms of the process. I know sometimes the planning stuff can be confusing, but this is the minor comp plan amendment. So this is to change the comp plan to allow for high density zoning. And then there are many, many approvals beyond that will actually be, the development obviously is the impetus for the minor comp plan amendment because it's coming forward, but all of the approvals for the development come after this point if this passes. So when you talk about things like traffic studies, stormwater issues, all of that is managed and moves through as it goes through the planning process. So typically you would not have a complete traffic study or stormwater management plan before it's even a position where the project could move forward. So that's where we are in the process. There are many more steps for this, which can evolve and where things can improve along the way. Who else would like to speak? Bill?
Yeah, so I guess a couple of things. I think we've had discussions with developers at council meetings in the past about the possibility of building apartments that could later transition to condos. Are you prepared to say anything at all about what it might take to accomplish something like that?
I wish I was prepared to speak to that. I can speak to the fact that, and one other gentleman said this as well, the challenge with condominiums, there's really two challenges. One being that you need to pre-sell 50% of the units ahead of time in order for a bank to fund the rest of it. Additionally, it's very hard to get architects involved in condominiums because they're very litigious. So we don't have experience with condos, and I wish I could answer the question better than that, but at this point, that's really all I can say.
I do have more, but
Please go, Bill.
Okay.
Oh, and then we'll do you after.
Just a note on some of the previous comments about property taxes. I jumped on Access Dane, and I looked at neighboring, the largest neighboring business there, which is Sub-Zero, which sits on 89 acres and paid this last year 1.1 million in property taxes, which comes out to about $12,500 per acre. I also looked at some of the newer multifamily units out in the uptown area, and those are generating something in the neighborhood of 100 to 200,000 plus per acre. So it's, a factor of 10 more per acre in property taxes from the multifamily. I can't say at all whether this particular development will be similar or not, but I imagine it'll be the same ballpark. One more comment for you, Gus. There's in the packet, there's a paragraph that says the developer would like to request consideration by the city to eliminate the need for the multi-use component of the building in the event that the market is not able to provide for the use of tenant space. And I was just thinking, as I was looking through the plans, well, what if South Stoner Prairie goes in, Edgewood facility goes in, and we need more retail? Are you prepared to allow for more commercial space in other buildings?
I think we're prepared for anything. Our plan for phasing this project has been ever-changing throughout the past few weeks. Now what we're looking at is potentially starting on the southern end of the property and moving to the north. So that would allow us to get some housing units in while we're in search of a tenant for one of those northern apartment first floor buildings there. And we're already undergoing some conversations with potential users for those spaces. So there is activity that we are undergoing to try to make that happen, and we're definitely open to all options at this point.
And the final thing I would like to say, one more comment on the opposition to putting multifamily on the west side of Seminole Highway. It's my understanding that the Blackhawk Church plot was originally supposed to have been high-density housing, and that didn't pan out. Had that high-density housing been put in there, I imagine that this plot we're talking about tonight probably would have remained commercial. The plots are roughly the same size. I think the Blackhawk Church site is just under 10, and this is just over 8 acres.
Jay?
Yeah. I live in a neighborhood. I live in an apartment. I live in a neighborhood that is pretty much all apartments. There's roughly, I want to say, if you go from Landmark down to the corner of Lacey and Sain, there's probably 1,500 apartment units in my neighborhood. And, whenever a development proposal comes forward, people complain about traffic. But I don't see the traffic issues in my neighborhood. Now, sometimes there are a couple of streets where we've run into some on-street parking issues, but there's not going to be any on-street parking on Seminole Highway. So I don't see that being a problem. Seminole Highway is, its design, I believe, is currently designed to handle 18,000 cars a day. I don't believe that this development is going to provide over 3,000 cars per day that was mentioned earlier. I just don't think that's a real number. And even if it did, there's capacity on those roads. Yes, there are peak times. And yes, peak times can get a little crazy. But that happens everywhere. That happens on the Beltline, which is where Seminole Highway goes. So I just don't see that as being a reason to deny this proposal. Now, my building has 54 units in it. Each unit assesses for the building assesses for about $8.4 million. So each unit comes out to around $150,000 each. And so if we assume that this building is going to come in pretty close to that, it's probably going to be a little more because my building's 3 years old now and prices have risen dramatically over the last 3 years. Let's just say let's say that value of the building is going to be around $65 million. I think I think our current municipal tax rate is around, what is it, 2%? So that theoretically should bring in roughly, what? Or is it's $2 per thousand? Is that what it is?
No, I think it's higher
Chad,
than
what's
that.
the number? Help me here.
I'd have to look it up. I'll see if I
Well,
can
just
find
give me
it
a
for you.
rough
It's
number.
like $5.60.
Yeah. It's roughly
It's
$6,
like
I
what?
think. $6.
$6 per thousand.
Yes.
So for a building like this, that would be maybe $360,000. So maybe a little more. So, I mean, it definitely will bring in a lot more money than what's coming in now from the property, or even what would come in if it was business. And one of the problem with that business category is that's really a nebulous phrase. What business are we talking about? Are we talking about a strip mall? Are we talking about office buildings? I mean, right now, there is no market for office buildings. If you look at the properties directly north of this particular property, there's a lot of office space there that's vacant, lots. And that's because there's just not, the market has not absorbed all the office space that's been built. And there's office space all over Dane County that's just sitting there vacant because there isn't a market for it. But right now, the vacancy rate for apartments is about 1.2%. Because there's a huge demand for that. So it's just how the market is right now. Now, would I prefer that we be building condos? You bet. One of the problems with since you're not aware, with building an apartment building and then trying to convert it to condos later, is that in general, a condo is going to have its own water meter. And in an apartment most apartment buildings, the water is paid for by the owner of the building. So there's only 1 meter for a building. In this case, there'd be 7 meters? You've got 7 buildings there, right? So there'd be 7 meters. To go into those buildings later and try to divide that up, the plumbing just wouldn't work. Generally, these units are stacked, and the plumbing goes straight up and feeds the bathroom for 3 or 4 apartments. And there's no way to divide that out once the building is built. So that's one of the challenges. You'd have to put all those water meters in and do all of that plumbing at the onset. And the cost of that's very, very high. And that's just one thing. Another thing that comes into play is in a condo, each one of those units will be subdivided as a particular parcel, a tax parcel, and that's not the situation you have with an apartment building. So as much as I would like to see more condos being built, the restrictions that have been placed by the federal government really make that difficult. And I would love to buy a condo, but there aren't any out there. So right now, apartments are what we have. There was also a comment made earlier about workforce housing. And in my view, right now, there is no workforce housing being built in Fitchburg. And we have talked to developers about this. I have spent considerable time up here pounding on developers about workforce housing. But a $350,000 or $400,000 house, which seems to be the only thing they know how to build these days, that is not workforce housing. That is an upper middle class house. That's something that's going to require a significant income in order to afford. And as far as new apartments, my rent is over $2,000 a month. That's not workforce housing. That's clearly not workforce housing. So, and in fact, one of the conversations we've had up here that I've brought up many times is that probably only maybe 10 or 12 of the employees of the city of Fitchburg could afford to qualify for a mortgage on a new house being built in the city of Fitchburg. So there is some work that we are doing. We are trying to change these things, but it's taking more time than I think any of us up here would like. So
Throw it to Nicole once you wrap up, and we can swing back to you as well.
okay. Well, I just wanted to, let me just finish. I think we are trying to address the issues that people are bringing up, but it's taking more time than I wish it was.
Thanks, Jay. Chad has an update about the tax rate, and then I'm going to go to Nicole.
So the current tax rate that was recently passed in the budget is $5.80 per 1,000 in assessed value. JU utilized $65 million as a potential total project build-out value. If that were to be the case, the total taxes paid for this development would be approximately $1.2 million annually, with $377,000 of that to the city of Fitchburg.
Nicole.
No.
Oh, you are muted, Nicole. Yeah, it looks like we have. Does anyone want to jump in while Nicole getting her technicals? Yeah, Dave.
Yeah, I'll talk probably a little longer than I normally do, but I would tell you, we can talk about the tax revenue, but I think everyone sitting out here would know that when we're adding, the taxes that we get never pays all the costs, and those of you living here make up the difference, and that's just how a city. Unfortunately, that's how the city grows, with the exception of businesses that get built without TID. I think all of you know probably I am the biggest, maybe not opponent, but not fan of high density on the council. But I do see places for it. Certainly the Fish Hatchery corridor, up the street from my house, and up in the old quarry, we're going to get a unit. But there are places, and I feel this might be one. We talked about renters. Well, I came out of school. I had a pretty decent job as an engineer. Well, I rented for 4 years, saved every nickel and dime I could. I had 2 roommates, and eventually, got enough for a down payment. I think that's still what a lot of young people want to do. But let's focus back on this one. What I see on this is, we heard about the schools. Well, it is close to the schools. Kids could walk to school. We'd have to have a crossing guard. But as someone who spent 12 years riding a bus, from 3 miles out in the country, I would have loved to have been able to walk to school. Second, it's close to, grocery stores, shopping. It's roughly a little less than 2 miles up to Orchard Ridge, with Hy-Vee and Target and Aldi and that shopping there. It's a short distance from the businesses on McKee Road. So there's a lot of pluses. It's close to employers. I work on Seminole Highway. That's where my office is. I look out my window and I see the highway every day. I ride my bike to work, but I ride down Seminole Highway on my bike to get to City Hall, and it is busy, but it's manageable. Sub-Zero, fortunately, they stagger their shifts. They switch at 6 and about 3, so they avoid the peaks. But there's a lot of cars coming, and I think it'd be manageable. But we also look at jobs. This is close to where my office is. We have lots of young engineers, I think, that would want to live here. We've got Sub-Zero, that employer, Promega right there. Hopefully some other businesses in that TID. I think people would like to be able to live close to where they work. It's just, you have more time in your life, you spend less money. It's not impeding on a long-term neighborhood. Now, one gentleman here that lives right next to us, I understand your issue, but I don't feel it'll, grossly affect your, the quality of your life. My home, shortly after I built it, high density went in down the street, and there were some problems, but it's manageable. It's part of my neighborhood. Again, we're walking distance to bus lines, restaurants, vicinity to the Edgewood, eventually the Edgewood athletic facility. I could see Edgewood students, say 3 of them roommates living there, and Edgewood is probably going to have a shuttle that goes into the campus. We have the roundabout already installed. The TED put that in. The businesses, we talk about business for that spot. Well, I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them wanting to come there. I think if there was a business that wanted to go there, we would have heard about it, or we would have heard from Mike Zimmerman, or it would have been brought to his council, and it's crickets for that. And he would. I know Mike would prefer to have a business there. I can't read my notes here. We talk about. I think all you've heard. The county is telling us, we have to add 400 housing units a year. I'll be honest with you, I could tell the county to go pound sand. We're going to do what we need to do in Fitchburg. But this would take some pressure off of the lower cost, older rental units, I believe. And there is a need for those. Most of them are in my district. We'd also, if we talk about the traffic on Seminole, anyone that's there in the morning knows that the majority of the traffic is coming from the south, and I think it's not even Fitchburg residents. It's coming from Oregon and Verona. So we have traffic from something we put in. Again, I'm not a fan of high density at all, but I think it makes sense here. This is an infill. We won't have to have any public streets, which cost us money. Again, not a TIF district. I've gone out and looked at the facility that the developer has in Middleton. It's a very nice looking place. You look at Black Hawk Church, I probably would have preferred that be housing, but they built that, and it's a beautiful facility. And maybe we can get some businesses on the first floor, but I think this would be a plus for the city. I know many of you are my supporters, and you're poking the Dave Herbst voodoo doll right now, but I think you know that I don't agree with no one agrees with everyone on everything, so I'm sorry.
Thanks, Dave. Nicole, do you want to try it again?
Maybe I will. Can you all hear me now?
We can hear you.
Yay, my apologies. I just switched devices. I just have a couple of questions. Do we still have the developer available in the
He is
room?
in chambers, yes, and he's at the mic.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to confirm, we heard in some of the comments that public input has not occurred. Can you just refresh our memory when public input began, and kind of like how you determined who you would contact, and how you confirmed that those folks were the right people to include in this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll speak to that. So I believe the date was September 30th is when we had our neighborhood meeting. We held it at Black Hawk Church. Prior to that meeting, I believe it was at least 2 weeks in advance, the residents were notified. Our company physically walked Crescent Crossing, and we handed out flyers on the door handle of some of the homes, some of them in mailboxes. So just to make sure that they had a physical copy of the meeting time, the meeting date, so that they could come and give their input to us as we're making our plan. That happened on the 30th, and we probably had 50 people in the room, and I think it was a good conversation. We heard a lot of what people had to say, and we adjusted our plan accordingly, something that could fit what we need and something that could fit what they need. So the public was heard, and we felt like we gave them a sufficient amount of time to get to that meeting and voice their concerns if they had any.
And from your understanding, is this similar to other kind of like public listening sessions at this point in a project for other items in the city?
That's a good question as well. So this is my first time going through this process, so don't have experience to back it up. But from the city staff, what I'm told is the timeline that we gave was sufficient time.
Gotcha. And then my second question, there was mention of a additional traffic study that was done. Being not only the District 4 Alder, but like a lot of people in the room, I also live on Osmondson Road. So selfishly, glad to hear that there was a traffic study done. Can you just kind of quickly give an overview of who was engaged to do the traffic study? And again, similar question of like, how does this protocol match what you understand or what you sought input on in terms of what is done for other developments in a similar place in the city?
Yeah, so definitely the consultant was KL Engineering, and we understand that they are a consultant that's regularly used by the city of Fitchburg. They're trusted by the city of Fitchburg. So we trusted them and we engaged them. When we engaged them, they discussed with city staff kind of the scope of what would be required of this traffic study. And the city was happy to share what they felt should be included in that study, and KL just tailored the study to exactly that. So what was looked at was Seminole Highway, Lacey Road, and then some of the surrounding intersections. I believe there was one comment tonight that there are some additional intersections that were not included in that study, and I did discuss this with my engineer this afternoon, and he said those weren't analyzed, but in general, moving further and further away from the property, the traffic just dissipates. So if we are looking good very close to the property, we can't be absolutely certain because we didn't look at it, but we can be pretty sure that the traffic is dissipating as you move further away and becomes more of a non-factor.
Gotcha. I also want to just take a moment to these next two are kind of more comments on that. I also want to note that there is an ongoing Osmondson traffic study. My predecessor, Randy, worked hard to get that brought forward, I think, in front of TCC. And so there is work being done on Osmondson to make sure that we are planning for traffic things. So just want to bring forward that city staff and efforts are being brought to this road as well. I just wanted to echo that much like some of my other alders, I'd love to see more condos built. But I do want to highlight that like the city of Fitchburg alone cannot change the politics and legislation of how the state of Wisconsin mandates the funding of condos. And as Jay brought up, there are quite a few vacancy rates in the city with businesses. So I just want to bring up from a perspective of a small business owner, this also has to make sense for constituents, but also has to make sense for businesses too. And while I would love the condo ownership rules to go away in terms of you have to have 50% of it sold before you even start building it, I think it makes condos very difficult. So I just want to air that like, I also would be a big fan of condos being built. It's just not fiscally feasible right now. And I really hope that we all work together to work with our legislators to change that, because I think it's ridiculous. The last point I want to bring up is one of the folks who spoke earlier, I believe Emmanuel, and sorry if I'm getting your name incorrect, but I really appreciate your comment about kind of the generational perspective. I think, for many in my generation, homeownership is not the foregone conclusion, and the amount of easy access via wealth that it was previously. And therefore, I don't know that renting has the same general impact or perception that it does for others. So I did just want to bring that forward. I too hope that a lot more people across all age groups get very involved in this process. because like I mentioned, I live on Osmondson. I have 2 young kids. I am just as concerned about traffic as the next person, as you can ask former Alder Randy and now Representative Randy in terms of that. So just wanted to bring forward that, I identify with that and really see this as a positive area, because I know that others have brought forward that, plan comp amendments and plan amendments and kind of what we've promised to the community and this changing since the last time we promised it 12 years ago and things like that. I think that indicates a level of stability that my generation hasn't actually been able to benefit from. Things change very quickly. And so I think we all are lucky that some of us have experienced 20 years without change in this type of economy and in this type of home ownership. Some in younger generations have not really experienced that form of wealth building. And I think this is a large amount where younger professionals can get in and start building that wealth and building kind of a mainstay in Fitchburg. So thanks. Sorry for the many questions.
Thanks, Nicole. Joe, you're up next.
Thank you. Actually, my question is to Alder Rafadari. I know you've spent time on the Verona School District, and folks kind of brought up the idea of impact on school attendance. Without us knowing like who's going to live in the apartments, can you speak a little bit to how the board and the district make decisions regarding just population growth and future construction of schools? Because I know I've, as a parent, have been kind of privy to those conversations and in different committees, but I know you probably have a lot more direct experience with it.
Sure. Yeah, I think I don't want to speak out of turn. It's been about maybe almost a year since I've been on the board, so there might be more refreshed data. But we do have studies done in terms of like what area of our communities are growing the fastest, and how we service those parts of our communities and try and keep kids in their communities. As we all know, Fitchburg does not have its own school district. And I think the school districts that serve us really are trying hard to invest in creating spaces in our community so that our kids can focus around each other. I can say that the Verona Area School District, at least when I was on the board, was actively planning for Fitchburg to be the area that's growing more in terms of children and enrollment. So I guess overall, to your point, I do not think the Verona Area School District would come on here and say that this is in any way surprising to them or not welcome. Again, I really hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but this was something that the school district really welcomes the Fitchburg family part of the VASD, and they plan for it quite purposefully.
Thank you. And I just want to add to that. I believe it was 2019 or 2018. I was on a kind of boundary drawing committee. The district hired a consultant, and essentially we went through these iterations of plans for projected growth, and kind of were asked to look at criteria around how to determine what the zones are for who goes to what school. And I'm just noticing that, I mean, this is incredibly close. This development is going to be incredibly close to Stoner Prairie and Savannah Oaks, an elementary and middle school. So I would imagine that if, say the folks that live in this apartment all decide to have children or already come in with young children, that when it would come to redraw those lines, that it would be done in a way that, would make sure that no school would be overcrowded, and that the construction of future schools, would accommodate the population growth. So I just want to speak to that school issue, and I know Dave and I disagree often, but I do agree with the fact that, this apartment complex being in an area where there's restaurants, a church, schools, a park, and grocery stores very close by is what we want in our city, and will likely have an effective reduction of traffic if people are nearby things that they can get to very easily. I'll also say that I know, many of the folks that have spoken in opposition of the project and other projects have often cited the environment. Building more densely is going to have a much lower environmental impact than sprawling suburbs. And I think, just in conversations with, our zoning and in reading different studies on city design and understanding how, other communities have become more dense, it means that there's less use per person. There's less area per person being utilized, and ultimately that's beneficial to the environment than a lot of people having to drive really far to go to sprawling neighborhoods. So that's one thing I'll say for now.
Thanks, Joe. I have a couple of comments that I want to make as well, and hopefully we can start wrapping this up. So if anyone has final comments, please think about it. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight to speak. I know it takes a lot of time of your day, and obviously this has gone on a long time, so thank you for coming out tonight. I have read all the emails, listened to all you carefully, and I think some of the concerns are obviously something that needs to be grappled with as we move through the process. Traffic, stormwater, those items are important, and they're something that we're going to have to continue to look at. But as I mentioned, this is the beginning of the process, not the end of the process. So want to make sure that we keep making sure we have a good eye on that. But I think this is a really good fit for this property. It's on a transit corridor. It's right off a bike path. And it is, I could see us putting a B-cycle station in there. People could B-cycle to the Seminole and where the Barriques is, and then cross the street and get on the 75 and go to Epic. There's bus transit. You can get on a car, but these apartments also they're in the $1,700 to $2,500 per month range. So the market really is for younger professionals and perhaps older retired individuals. So this is not necessarily families with lots of kids. This is people in those two different age brackets. And there's going to be co-working spaces as well. So a lot of these people might actually be working from home all the time and be attracted to this area because of all the amenities and staying local or hopping on their bike, which this would be possible. So I think it's a really interesting place. I think you want to be putting density near transit corridors and corridors and places where people can use alternate modes of transportation. And so that's why this project is so desirable. I also love that we have potential to have some retail coming through as well, because we don't have enough of that. And I know it's challenging to do and it's expensive to do. So appreciate bringing that forward. Always wish there was more, but it's good to have something. And I've heard that from some of the residents. So while I appreciate all the comments, my job here is to take that into account, but also to take into account other people that didn't come here tonight, and also take into account the bigger picture. We face an affordable housing crisis, and I would love for these apartments to be more affordable, more in the form of workforce housing. Like everyone else here, I wish for some condo ownership, but the fact of the matter is that more units of housing at any price point helps the situation, because we don't have enough housing. So even if you build high cost market rate apartments, that floods the market with more stock, and it opens up those more affordable apartments to people that need at that price point. Because there really aren't even enough high-end apartments for people to even have those. So even if they want them, they end up renting something lower cost that could go to a family that really needs that lower cost, lower price point. So we need more housing. We need more home ownership, and we are working on that. I promise you we're discussing it lots in Committee of the Whole and in Housing Advisory Committee and Council. So it's something that we care a lot about, and it's something we're grappling with, and the staff is as well. So thank you for coming out tonight. Anyone else want to make any comments before we take a vote? Jay?
Yeah, just one final comment. I have seen now 3 different situations where we ask for not even a lot, but just a small amount of neighborhood retail in these buildings. And I have watched the council knuckle under the developer's refusal to do so. So what I'm not expecting 15 businesses in these buildings, but I think the types of neighborhood retail that would be good, hair salons, coffee shops, I don't know that a tavern is going to work there with Delta being just up the street, but I have a new bar right near where I live in the ground floor of one of my apartment buildings. I can walk to it and it's wonderful. But those are the things that are necessary to make walkable neighborhoods work. And while I think there's some challenge to making this small parcel be responsible for creating the walkable neighborhood for this area, we are pushing for other stuff in other nearby areas just to the west. So I think I would really like to see you put an extra effort into trying to find something that will work in your building that someone will look at and say, hey, this is a great location for whatever it is.
All right, seeing no more comments, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of Resolution 2024-030, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is going to be 8A5, as the agenda was amended. Thank you. Jay, would you make the motion for 8A5?
Sure, I will move approval of ordinance 2024-0-27 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR-08-24, adopting and recommending the Fall 2024 Amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, amending text on page 5-3 to revise the minor amendments procedures to require approval of a minor amendment by Plan Commission and Council.
Second. I'll second it. All right. So this is the item that we had also some testimony on, and people talked a little bit about the history of it. But I was hoping that maybe if Valerie's on as well, but I can just give kind of a little. Should we let Valerie do it? Yeah, Valerie, why don't you do an introduction, and I can talk about the plan discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So I guess before I start talking about this particular item that's before the council tonight, I want to just offer a little bit of background with regard to the process that the city has utilized in addressing comprehensive plan amendments in the past. I know that you've heard a lot of testimony and some strong opinions on the matter. My involvement in this issue began in 2017, but really Fitchburg's history with the comprehensive plan amendment, and specifically this issue of how this decision-making authority for the comprehensive plan were to be shared dates back to all the way to 2009. So back in 2009, when the Fitchburg first adopted its first comprehensive plan by ordinance on March 24th of 2009, this question of whether the council could make a unilateral substantive change to the Plan Commission recommendations with regard to the comprehensive plan was considered at that time. In anticipation of adopting that plan, the city attorney issued a opinion that addressed this very question. And that opinion is, I believe, in your packet and is attached as a supporting document to my memo, which I had prepared in October of this year. So in that memo, Mark Sewell, the former city attorney, issued an opinion which indicated that he did not believe that the council had unilateral authority. And that was based on the language of the statute, which admittedly he indicated was, in his belief, poorly written. And I would certainly concur with that opinion. I think that language could have been crafted better. So he had issued that opinion because he was requested to do so. And as you probably are aware, part of city attorney's job is to issue legal opinions when requested to do so by city officers. So that's the opinion that he issued in 2009. And from 2009 until 2019, that was kind of the lay of the land, if you will. And every comprehensive plan, minor comprehensive plan amendment that went before the council included this language that talked about council, any substantive changes that were to be made at the council level needing to be re-referred back to the plan commission for its consideration. His opinion was based on the language of the statute. And again, you know, all of that is in the packet for you. So I'm not going to read the opinion to you, but I just want to explain to you that, you know, the language that is in question here really talks about a change that is recommended for adoption by the Plan Commission and then adopted by the council. And so that's kind of what the argument's been all about, right? Is that what does that statute mean? And so Mark Sewell in 2009 issued that opinion. That is how the city interpreted it until 2019. And that went on until in 2018, when there was this North Stoner Prairie Amendment. I think some folks have brought up kind of in conversation or in their in sharing their opinions, that particular plan amendment when this kind of came to a head. And there's a standoff, if you will, between the Plan Commission and the council, and there are a number of rounds of back and forth. I was at that time, for the first time, I was asked to opine on the issue, and in looking at the statute, I concurred in the opinion of the city attorney, former city attorney, that was issued in 2009. I could not find any court cases addressing it, and so I really had to base my language or my opinion on the language of the statute itself, as well as all of the other information that was available to me at that time. So at that point, at the request of several alders and the mayor, I was requested to get a formal opinion from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. And so I put in that request and I framed the question. And after several months, that opinion came back from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. Now, it's an opinion, right? Much like my opinion, it isn't the law. And I'm not here to tell you that my word is the law. My word is my legal opinion. As an attorney and as a city attorney, it's my job to issue legal opinions when requested. Likewise, the League of Wisconsin Municipalities issues opinions when they're requested to do so. Until a judge ultimately says one way or the other what the statute means, or until the legislature comes back with better language, I suppose, really all we have to go on is legal opinions. And so far you've got the city attorney who preceded me, his legal opinion, my legal opinion, and then the League of Wisconsin Municipalities came out with this opinion. That's also included in your packet. The League of Wisconsin Municipalities concurred in the interpretation, which essentially says that both the Plan Commission and the Common Council have to agree to modify the plan or adopt the plan in the first place, but once the plan is adopted, to make an amendment to it. But just to say that, neither the Plan Commission nor the Common Council controls that process, because if the Plan Commission wishes to see a change, but the Council opposes it, likewise, the amendment would not come to fruition. If the Plan Commission opposes a change and the Common Council wishes to see it happen, the same result, there just really needs to be concurrence. So that was my opinion. That was the League of Wisconsin Municipalities' opinion. And ultimately, in that particular case, in that North Stoner Prairie Amendment, ultimately the Common Council and the Plan Commission did come to an agreement. And that is how that particular comprehensive plan amendment was adopted. Subsequently, when the city changed updated its comprehensive plan in in June of 2019, or I apologize, in March of 2020, new language was added as a result of that back and forth that essentially said Common Council has the final say, and that is the language that you have currently in your comprehensive plan. Now, I should note, both I and the League opinion indicate that if our interpretation of the statute is correct, and that is that both the Common Council and the Plan Commission need to agree is required by that statute, then it really doesn't matter if our comprehensive plan has other language. We can't change the requirements of a statute by adopting a comprehensive plan provision that's contrary to that. But nonetheless, the council did adopt that in 2020, and that has been essentially the process that has been in place since that time. And so this fall, at the request of the mayor, I had put together this comprehensive plan amendment, which, if adopted, will bring our comprehensive plan process in line with that prior opinion and the league opinion as well. Again, I understand there's some altering views on whether it's the appropriate way to go. All I can offer you is my best legal interpretation. That's what you pay me for, and that's what I'm here for. Again, I do want to point out it is consistent with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, which issued their opinion specifically addressing the Fitchburg North Stoner Prairie question. That's what spurred that opinion. You may have seen that article that was in the League of Wisconsin Municipalities magazine, but it was really in response to that particular amendment that they wrote that opinion at the request of Fitchburg. So happy to answer questions. Hopefully that wasn't too much history for you all. Again, the materials are in the packet, and I'm here if you have any questions.
And a couple comments from me from the Plan Commission discussion. I think just to right size this conversation, this is about comp plan amendments. It's not about every item. It's just comp plan amendments. So just making sure that everyone's on the same page with that, especially and ultimately the council has the final say. The final vote needs to be voted by council. But the idea behind it is that the Plan Commission and the council should come to an agreement, and that can happen via re-referral. And I think overall, our Plan Commission members, they're tasked with looking at the comprehensive plan and seeing if it aligns. And I think having this agreement between the alignment of the Plan Commission and the council is a good thing for the city. And I think it's worth extra time if things have to be referred and returned in order to get a consensus between the two bodies. And also, I think aligning with the league's opinion is good. So that's a little bit of plan discussion, a little bit my opinion. Anyone who would like to speak? Jay?
Well, being the mayor at the time that our original comprehensive plan was adopted and being in the thick of it with this particular issue, I know Tom Havel and I agreed that the council should have the final say. And that's why the language got crafted the way that it did. And Mark Sewell, the city attorney, didn't necessarily agree with that. And Mark Sewell was also absolutely correct that this is a very poorly written statute, as statutes go. I mean, the state, some committee at the state needs to go back and recraft this to figure out what the legislature's actual intent was. But in any event, as reading through the statute, in 66-1001, it's I mean, I see where the opinion comes from that the council just can't make decisions, that these are Plan Commission decisions. And 6223, which is the other statute that's referenced, is pretty much all about the Plan Commission. There's no reference anywhere in 6223 to the council having input into the master plan at all. It's just not there. I'm not sure that I'm happy with this particular wording. I think what I would prefer that we do is just remove that section from the plan altogether, and then we don't have something that potentially conflicts with state law, and we're not throwing something else in there that really would have no effect if the statute, if somebody raised an objection based on the statute.
Bill?
Yeah, I was going to echo both of your sentiments. I feel like agreement between the Plan Commission and the council is a good thing, and if that is the way that we are, supposed to operate, if that was the initial intent of the statutes, I think that's to be commended. And I was, based on Valerie's comment about how the language in the comp plan is completely immaterial and can't override state statutes, I was going to make the same suggestion that maybe we just don't include this verbiage in the comp plan at all.
Other comments? Julia?
Okay, sorry. So my intention when I brought forward this amendment was to, to be sure that we were not doing any illegal, because I heard some comments, previous comment that, that the council shouldn't have the authority to override, a position from the Plan Commission regarding an amendment to the comp plan. So, so that one was, my intention was to see that we are following the statutes. So my question to you, Valerie, are you okay, you feel comfortable if we remove the language from the comp plan?
Well, I do want to clarify that I don't think that it's immaterial what's in the comprehensive plan, because I think part of a good comprehensive plan is to specify the procedures of how it's adopted and amended. What I intended with my statement was that you can't use the comprehensive plan to change the fundamental requirements of a statute, but certainly you can provide specificity in how that statute is followed. So I just wanted to add that clarifying point. I think there's some language that is really significant. For instance, that approval requires majority vote of the council. That's also in the statute. So I guess to some extent it isn't vital to have it in the plan. But I think when people go to look for the process for changing a comprehensive plan, they may not go to the statute, which, as has been pointed out, isn't the best written place, and it certainly isn't particularly readable. So I think it is worthwhile to spell out the process. I think if the council has concerns about specific provisions, we can certainly craft to address them. If you were to remove this language, I don't know that it's necessarily a huge problem, but I do foresee potentially a year or 2 or 3 from now, a similar issue arising. And if the language in the comprehensive plan is not there, then we might be kind of back to where we started, arguing over what the process ought to be. So that's my 5 cents for what that's worth.
So the Plan Commission discussed.
I have
oh, go ahead, Julia.
Question. So okay. So the question is, Valerie. But we can refer out. We can make that reference in the comp plan. That we are following these statutes. You know what I mean? We can do that, isn't it?
Sure.
No, because I am asking for a legal opinion to see what is, your recommendation. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, again, right, you can say that you're going to adopt the plan consistent with the state statute. As you can see,
Okay.
there's some disagreement. I mean, that said, and I should add, that has been my interpretation. This has been the league's interpretation. I could understand why another attorney, in looking at the same set of facts, might draw a different conclusion. That's why I say the statute's poorly written, because it is not as clear as it ought to be. So I think there's benefit in specifying what this council intends the process to be. I'm not saying that it's absolutely required, because again, the statute does provide sort of guardrails, if you will. But I think spelling out what the intention of the comprehensive plan amendment process is, I think that serves a benefit because it puts everybody on notice.
Okay, so this is a question for the council if they want to do that. So I'll let you council.
If I may, Alder Gerhart, just want to remind the Common Council that funding is available for a comprehensive plan update beginning next year. And that could be an opportunity to fully assess the language that is within the comp plan as well.
I did want to just jump in too. So like if there's general agreement by the council that we welcome the idea of the plan commission and council agreeing on items before they move into the comp plan. Accepting this as is might be a good first step, just because the plan commission did talk about this for 2 meetings and we laid out this final version. I grant that this might not be the perfect language, but I do think it clarifies somewhat. It's still somewhat ambiguous, but it does clarify that if the council makes a substantive change, it should be re-referred to the plan commission. So I think it lays out our process for how it works. And so I would encourage us to accept this as is. And as Chad mentioned, there is an opportunity to clean up the language, potentially with a comp plan update that's forthcoming. Bill? I'm sorry, Donald.
No, I was just going to ask a clarifying question. I thought that, but it was in our purview that we wanted to be the kind of the authoritative body at the end of like making the ultimate decision. But wouldn't that current language you just said like put the onus on the plan commission, which is in opposition of what we want?
No, so the council does have the final vote.
Okay.
But the idea behind it is that if the council makes a substantive change, they first have to re-refer to the plan commission.
To ask if it's okay? Or
there has to be a back and forth between plan to come to a consensus before the final thing is adopted.
Okay.
So the council just can't make a significant change and then accept it. Gotcha. It would go back to the plan commission, but the final vote is always with the council.
Gotcha.
Bill?
I do like this wording. I think it's written in plain language. It's easy to understand. I guess my fear and my comment earlier was that in some interpretation of the statutes that this might be counter to that. But I guess, Valerie, in your opinion, if we were to just say, look, this is the policy that we as a city choose to follow, would we be running afoul of, is there any reason that for anybody to say, hey, you're doing it wrong and you're scofflaws here?
Just to tag on, like, I guess the great question to Bill's question is like, are we in opposition of, or in violation of any type of law? Like, should this be done a certain way that it's not being done?
We did it for 20 years. We followed the previous language in the comp plan, okay? So we didn't have any issues. So what we're trying to do is to go back to that language.
Yeah, so that's essentially what I was like kind of getting at. Is there like, what should it say?
So
what is in that, what the plan commission draft?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chad.
I was just going to add, so I think the intent here is to have the language align with the legal opinion of both the city attorney, as well as the prior city attorney, as well as the legal opinion provided by the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. Our current comp plan language is contrary to those legal opinions. And that was changed in 2019. Is that correct, Valerie? Is that what you had said?
In 2020.
2020, thank you. So this, what you had before us, would basically revert the language back to how it had been prior to 2020. I suspect there was some minor modifications to the language as it relates to what was in the comp plan at the time of change. I wasn't in this role and admittedly wasn't paying close attention to the language that was put in the plan. Valerie, do you have any insight as to how different, if at all, this language is to what had been previously in the comp plan prior to 2020?
The comp, I don't recall, and I can pull it up if you'd like, if given a moment, but I don't recall the exact language that was in the comp plan prior to 2020. However, I do know that prior to 2020, every referral that went out and the background information in the planning staff that would put it together included similar language that talked about council being able to make non-substantive changes. So the process certainly was this. I do think there was some contradictory language in the comprehensive plan. And to that end, I think the league actually addresses it. So there was language, if you take a look at the league opinion, it says, I note the following language appears on page 13-4 of the city's comprehensive plan as part of the steps in the process for amending the comprehensive plan. And then it quotes the language. Following the public hearing, the council votes to approve or deny the ordinance adopting the proposed comprehensive plan amendment by majority vote of the council. The common council may make changes to the recommended plan commission version of the amendment. And then the opinion goes on to say, this language does not alter my conclusion where state statutes set forth a specific procedure for enacting and amending a comprehensive plan. A municipality cannot modify the statutory procedure by including language inconsistent with that scheme. So that's kind of what I was saying before, right? Where there's a statutory framework, you can't just change it. But that said, this language that was in the comprehensive plan that said the common council can make changes was tempered by the information that was in the referral and the process that was followed, which said council can only make non-substantive technical corrections to the plan. I hope that.
Bill? Or Donald, did you want to respond? Bill?
Not a direct response to that, but that did trigger when you said majority vote of the council. I feel like there was some discussion either in the packet or at the plan commission as to what majority vote of the council means. Is that a majority of the entire council or a majority of the council that is present forming the quorum at any given meeting?
That means majority vote of the council, and that requirement comes from the statute.
Okay, so I guess I'll just put this out there. Can we amend this so that it says the amendment as recommended by Plan Commission approval requires majority vote of the entire council or something like that to just to make it a little clearer?
I would call that a technical, non-substantive correction if we were going to do that.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is like if either language that is in there right now technically isn't in violation of some law or something, right? What is stopping it from continually to go back and forth bouncing between language, given who's sitting up here in these seats? If neither one, if technically both of them could be in there, you get what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm asking. Because I feel like if that's the case, then we can keep having this back and forth around and bouncing between these issues if we can't figure out a statute or there isn't certain language that is valid and certain language that isn't correct is what I guess what my question was the first time I was asking if that wasn't clear.
My interpretation is that, of course, that's a risk because the statute's somewhat ambiguous, but I think my belief is that we should align with our city attorney and in the league. And that our language should align with that. And of course, it's possible that another council could reverse that because that's obviously happened before. But I think it'd be best if we move forward with this, in my opinion.
Did anybody feel like seconding my amendment?
Second.
What specifically?
Just to insert,
state the amendment.
Yeah. So it would say requires a majority vote of the entire council rather than just requires a majority vote of the council. Just to make it clear that it's not just, if two of us are excused absent, it still requires
4 votes.
5 votes, right?
Votes.
Majority vote of the entire council, not just those making up the quorum at any given meeting.
Is that accurate, Valerie?
That's, correct. Although the state statute uses a different definition, but it means the same thing. It says majority of members elect, which is those members of the governing body that have been duly elected or appointed for a current regular or unexpired term and whose service has not been terminated. So in effect, it has the same meaning. not just those who are present.
Jay?
Yeah, just so everybody has the full story here. The 2009 comprehensive plan says the Common Council may make changes to the recommended Plan Commission version of the amendment. And then the 2020 version has the sentence that says the Common Council may make changes to the recommended Plan Commission version of the amendment and order publication of the ordinance adopted by council. And what Valerie and the League and Mark Sewell and others seemed to believe is that 66.1001 does not allow the council to make changes. So, and I guess, I mean, it's okay. And as I was looking at this, if we just cut out that item 8, it's going to really mess up the entire list here. So we can't just delete it, I don't think, without doing some additional wordsmithing to this. But I don't know. I mean, it seems like the council should be the policy-making body and not have to rely on agreement with the Plan Commission. But apparently the statute does not agree with that.
So shall we take a vote on the amendment, or is there any other conversation about the amendment specifically? All right, all in favor of adding the word entire to that place in the phrase, say aye.
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 Nays? Motion carries. Any further discussion on the entire thing? No? All in favor of 2024-027 as amended, say aye.
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 Nays?
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you. So now we go to the administrator's report.
Thank you, Alder Gerhardt. A few events. As a reminder, the business luncheon is occurring on Thursday, December 12th at a Promega facility. That begins at 11:15 a.m. If you are able to join us and have not yet registered, please email Mike Zimmerman or Joyce Fry. Also, as a reminder, I shared information at the last council meeting. The Holiday Lights Tour and Jubilee is occurring this weekend. 5:15 on Friday evening will be a lighting ceremony at the Agora Pavilion. And then on Saturday, Santa Claus as well as lighted city vehicles will be available for viewing at Fire Station 1 on Lacey Road from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And as it relates to the Holiday Lights Tour, we have 47 homes and 3 businesses who have registered their participation. I want to update the council on the sidewalk replacement project. That project was unable to be completed in full due to the onset of below zero or below freezing weather. So that project will be resuming in order to be completed in spring when the weather warms. All property owners or parcels that were to have sidewalk work done on them were notified via mail that the remainder of the project will occur next year. If you have any comments related to the strategic plan, I just want to remind you that those should be submitted to Allison Brunette by the end of the day, December 12th. The ice rink at McKee is now open. Park staff has been able to get that ice rink up and running, although the warm weather earlier this weekend has complicated the ice formation there. But it looks like we're going to get some cold weather later this week, which may help it reform. Property tax bills will be mailed tomorrow. There is an insert and other information within that tax bill, but I wanted to at least advise the council that that is going out tomorrow. There's also a giving tree located in the senior center for the next several days yet. So if you have an interest in providing a gift in relation to that giving tree. I encourage you to contact Joe McCone or venture into the senior center. And then finally, I just want to recognize the busy year that we had here in 2024. This is the last council meeting of the year, and I want to thank the Common Council for your support of all the projects, initiatives, and just day-to-day operations that city staff undertakes. I believe that 2025 will probably be equally as busy. We know there's a lot of things on the horizon and the docket as well, and I look forward to working with the Common Council throughout 2025. And then, obviously, with the holidays approaching in a couple of weeks, I want to wish everyone here happy holidays, and please take some time to celebrate the holidays. So, thank you.
Thanks, Chad. Next, we have the mayor's report. Mayor?
I want one question. Chad, can you explain what is the letter that the assessing department is sending to the residents?
I think I mentioned this at the last council meeting. There are some members of the community, property owners, listed, I think, less than several hundred, who are receiving some letters. Those are going out for various reasons. There may have been a remodel project or building permit pulled. There may have been a recent sale on the property. The city may not have visited the property and confirmed what the records of the city have been for quite some time. So there are a variety of different reasons in which the assessor's office may be contacting or communicating with property owners. And I have obtained a copy of the template that is utilized by the assessing department, and I'll share that with the Common Council yet this evening.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because there is a couple of misinformation online, so. Okay.
Sure.
So my report. Chad and I, we met with the town of Verona and the city of Verona. We continue the discussion with the EMS agreement. I think it's in the final phase. So we made a lot of progress. I also met with the fire department last week. I was invited to discuss, EMS agreement, staffing, referendum, what is next. We continue working with the union negotiations. I also was invited to participate. I participated in an event organized by the Greater Madison Chamber of Commerce called Advocacy AM. It was a workforce housing panel, and I was invited to be one of the panelists last week. It was great to, it was a great event. More than 100 people attended, talking about how, the issue about workforce housing. And my perspective as an elected official, what are the things that we can do as a local government to promote and build more workforce housing? So as I mentioned, we have a couple of initiatives that they're going to come in the pipeline that this council will, revise in the next couple of months. So I think this is something that we don't have. We are not building workforce housing in Fitchburg, and this is something that we need to start having the discussion. And I'm going to move forward some policy changes that I want to make about waiving some of the park fees, impact fee for building workforce housing. So that I want to introduce to you. What else? Also, I got invited for next week. The Latino Chamber of Commerce they have the last graduation from one of the cohorts about how to start your own company. And I want to be the keynote speaker. The Latino Chamber of Commerce is one of our partners, and they are located in Fitchburg. So this is great that we have continued, embracing this partnership. What else? I also, no, that's it. So the other thing I want to say is, I want to thank the council for this year, for all the things that we move forward, all the project, initiative, policies that we work this year, the staff, because the staff, had to execute what we move forward, and the residents. And I know that have been a challenging year for us. I know that we are doing a lot of things that provoke change. And I think some of our residents are concerned about the change. They don't want change in the city. They don't want, but I think this is a good change. We are a city in motion. We are a city that we're growing. Some of the policy that we are implementing, there could be controversial for some, welcomed by others. But at the end of the day, we need to determine that everything that we are doing as a council, as a staff, is looking what is best for the city, moving the city forward with a vision and a purpose. And I think that we are going to get, no, we are not going to please everyone. But at the end, I think that we are moving in the right direction. And I want to thank you, because there were some moments like tonight, that we need to make bold decisions, and we are looking at the future of the city. So I want to say thank you. Have a great holidays. I hope that you come to the Business Appreciation Luncheon, and I want to say thank you to Economic Development team, that they have been working very hard for this event, for all the efforts. And I think it's a good networking activity. Please show up. And let's keep moving forward the city, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We can move on back to Plan Commission. Can I get someone to make a motion on 8A1?
Yes. I would move approval of Ordinance 2024-0-28 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR 09-24, adopting and recommending the Fall 2024 amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, amending Map 4.3 Future Land Use Plan map for property located off of Borchert Road, specifically from AG-OS to rural residential.
Get a second?
I'll second that motion.
So Plan Commission did approve this. This is basically they want to sell it as a single family home, this property. It was likely always intended to be a home but it was just never zoned for it. There's no opposition from neighbors. Ag and Rural Affairs Committee passed it, or Ag and Rural Affairs is okay with it, so would encourage, staff recommends approval. Any discussion? Jay?
Yeah, was this parcel already platted prior to this rezoning recommendation?
Good evening, everyone. The parcel was created by Meets and Bounds in the 1960s.
Okay, so it was already there, it just didn't get rezoned.
Yep, it's
Okay.
always there.
Any other discussion?
Are they, is the owner of the rest of the ag land able to do any more splits, or are they done now?
Yeah, there's no splits here.
Okay.
Yeah, this was originally part of the Hageman farm.
Yeah.
And there's not any splits involved in this area.
Seeing no hands, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of Ordinance 2024-028, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I will move approval of Ordinance 2024-0-29 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR 10-24, adopting and recommending the Fall 2024 amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, amending Map 4.3 Future Land Use Plan map for property located off Central Park Place from PNC to high-density residential.
Second.
So Plan Commission did approve this. This is a lot we actually approved last month. This is sort of a cleanup item by staff. It already has smart code approval. And it really has no reason to be Parks and Conservancy. So this is really just a cleanup item to make sure that we're continue moving forward with that project. Anything to add, Deanna?
No, this is more of a cleanup. The zoning's been in place for probably a decade, and unfortunately, some of the smart code future land use map is a bit of a mess. So this is just some cleanup.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor of resolution ordinance 2024-029, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I will move approval of ordinance 2024-0-31 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR 12-24, adopting and recommending the Fall 2024 amendment to the comprehensive.
Jay, can you withdraw this? I'm sorry. We're withdrawing this, right?
If you all, the staff would recommend just postponed indefinitely.
Okay.
That the applicant has withdrawn this application. So I think the appropriate motion would be to just postpone indefinitely, is my understanding.
Sorry, Jay, just didn't want you to go through that all.
Oh, but I like reading aloud so much. I will move to postpone indefinitely ordinance 2024-0-31 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR 12-24, adopting and recommending the Fall 2024 amendment to the comprehensive plan, amending map 4.3 future land use plan map for property located off Notre Dame Drive and Lacey Road from mixed use to high density residential.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of postponing indefinitely, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And next, we move on to the Board of Public Works.
I'll
Dave?
move approval of Resolution R-18124, approving agreement for subdivision improvements in the plat of Jamestown Quarry, postponed from November 26th.
Second.
Public Works approved.
Plan Commission approved.
So this, in Public Works, we had a lengthy discussion on this. It was approved 3-2. Let Alder Jetzer speak, but the opposition was an egress out onto McKee Road along the back of the property was one of the main objections. It was delayed because the county came to agreement. There's a signal being added on Fitchburg Road, additional lanes for turning, fairly comprehensive, changes on for the egress, and this is due to the businesses that are going to be essentially on right on McKee Road. And Bill, if you wanted to add anything on that.
Well, just that we're facilitating and encouraging additional car traffic at a time when our, climate demands we do otherwise, our sustainability plan demands we do otherwise, our comprehensive plan demands we do otherwise. And this is, going to make the area more openly hostile towards pedestrians. And there was additional discussion too, some concern about the kind of the tightness of the quarters there, and how some of the distances between signals was going to be pretty short, and getting car queuing length was going to be potentially an issue, and just trying to get yourself from one lane to another over a very short distance. So those were some of the topics we discussed as well.
We have a representative from the developers online, Chris Dawson. Would you like to say anything?
Yes, thank you all for having me. I just had reviewed the discussion from board last night and felt it was maybe appropriate or would hopefully be helpful to provide a statement on behalf of the development team regarding the SIA in front of you, and also make myself available for any questions or concerns that council members might have, including some of the concerns that were just mentioned that had been brought up at board. The SIA before you is a result of
We're sorry. Your conference is ending now. Please hang up.
We still see you, Chris.
Okay. Making sure I wasn't getting kicked out. Yeah.
Thank you. Please hang up.
I assume that's not directed at
Yeah, it
me.
must be someone else unmuted.
Okay. Well, this SIA is a result of considerable
Please
amount
hang
of coordination between Public Works, the development team, the state and county reviewing agencies, particularly related to transportation facilities. And as you are all aware, I mean, you have all seen this project many times through a variety of entitlements, including land divisions, the comprehensive development plan, rezoning, and through these various applications, I'm sure you can all appreciate the complexity of the proposed development. So while the SIA contains some of the typical familiar language that you see for developments in the city, there are many unique items incorporated just because of these complexities, not the least of which are conditions related to traffic impacts and roadway design. So overall, I'll try not to go kind of overboard with this, but we did hire licensed traffic engineers to perform a traffic impact analysis. The SIA reflects many of their recommendations, including some items that we additionally addressed based on feedback from DOT and Dane County Highway staff. So this has seen an extensive review by various bodies, both on the municipal side, on the development side, and outside of the Fitchburg agencies as well. The SIA reflects various conditions that have accompanied the past approvals that we have received for this project. So we have steadily, gone through our checkpoints and made sure that we are getting the approvals we need to get to this point. And approval of this SIA is kind of one of the last key points we need to get through to allow the development to move forward and for a variety of users to close on their properties and really secure their financing, which includes the 4 commercial developments and also the 273 unit multifamily building. The decision here, the hinges on approval, whether those projects are able to move forward. I don't want to get long-winded, but I am happy to address some of the concerns that were brought up at board, either by either Alder sitting tonight or by others. And I will hand it back to you.
I see Dave.
So I'll make a comment. Developer has held meetings, in the neighborhood, a couple meetings, and there's not been any opposition from the neighborhood. Although I would admit they have not seen this final traffic, with the extra light and things. But the neighborhood is aware of the businesses going on there and the apartments, and I would say they're in favor of this development.
May I add something?
Yeah, please.
I just want to add that staff has spent a considerable amount of time working with the developer on this particular project, as well as the landowner also. There have been many months and significant amount of hours spent by planning and zoning, economic development, the engineering team as well, to review this particular development. And overall, we are excited to have a project coming forward on this particular site. Is it exactly what city staff would have preferred? Perhaps not, but it's certainly a a good opportunity to provide an infill development opportunity here in an area that is currently serviced from a number of different transportation modes, and ultimately some enhancements will be made to other transportation modes such as pedestrian and bicycle use. There is a multi-use path that is required to go in as part of this particular development. There's some enhancements that have already been discussed with Madison Metro in regards to the transit stops there, and we've been in contact with Metro. So I think overall, with all the various challenges with this site, with the economics of making a deal possible for this particular location, and the various levels of review that have gone on between the Common Council entitlement process, the Plan Commission entitlement process, and the variety of reviews from many different engineering perspectives, local here at the city, county, and state. What you have before you ultimately is a standard subdivision improvement agreement that is specifically tailored, as they all are, to the developments that have reached this point in the entitlement process.
Jay.
Yeah, I'll just be brief. I'm not really thrilled with this type of development. And I'm inclined to vote against it, although I think I'm going to probably vote for it just because it has gotten this far along in the process. But I really think, I know one of the big drivers of this is they're doing this without TIF funding. And while I appreciate that, I think it's worth using TIF funding on this type of a site in order to get the kind of development that would be best for the city, and not just to, to throw up some of these auto-dependent businesses that are not helping us get to our longer-term goals. So I will vote for this tonight, but I'm not happy about it.
I'll jump in as well. I think we've had some interesting conversations about, and alders have expressed some really important issues with certain types of businesses coming into the city. I think all of those are valid, and I think city staff has probably heard those concerns pretty clearly. I would like to just point out that I think many of those concerns are valid. However, this property, this development has gotten all the way to almost the end of the process, and if we are going to decline the subdivision improvement agreement at this point, that is just bad business in the city of Fitchburg. And it's a really bad precedent to set. I think we can be clear that we want to see something different in the future without punishing a current project because it was not what we wanted to see back when it was in the early stages of the process. So I would also just like to point out that this project site is very challenging, and there's a reason it hasn't been developed for many years. It's a really complicated site. It's very expensive to grade. So there's a lot that goes into this that would be pretty detrimental to fail it at this point. Also, this developer brought that great housing development in the back of this site, which is commendable. And I would also point out that the other piece of this site has not been developed, and the plan is for that developer to bring more to us. So he's heard that we want less parking. He's heard that we want more housing. Like, he's heard us, and this project is not done. So I think it would be very, very terrible to fail this at this point in the process. And I think that is not a precedent that we should set. Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yeah, so I agree with most of what you say, Gabriela. I think we need to look at for how long this piece of land was vacant. I know that maybe for some of you, this is not the ideal businesses. I already sent an email to a couple of you. If you want to change what type of business to bring to the H&I areas, you should approach the H&I committee because they are revising the strategic plan. And so far, no one has come forward with any initiative. So I And the other thing, we need to look at what we are telling this, not only to this developer, to other developers that they are watching us and they want to bring business to Fitchburg, okay? So look what you are gonna say what you're gonna do tonight. Because you can send a precedent that people are gonna say, going to the city of Fitchburg, it's very difficult to bring businesses because we are dealing with a difficult council. They are not they don't want to accept our businesses. So this is something that you need to consider tonight. I know that some of you, that you have your concern about that type of business. I agree, but also this development is bringing housing that we need. And maybe in the rest of the development or the parcel, can we bring more housing? And the other thing that we need to look is, even though these businesses that Chick-fil-A and McDonald's are not your ideal, for some of you, your ideal businesses, they can bring a lot of job for the teenagers. They are working in that area. They can walk, they can bike, most of them, they get the first job working in this type of businesses. So, so look at that too. That's it.
Any other discussion? Bill?
I've been on the record as being against these 4 businesses for months now. So, I mean, this is not, if I vote no tonight, this is not anything unexpected, right? And I guess I wonder how different the redesign of the roadways would be if we had more desirable businesses here, which is, that's my objection to the roadway changes is and I mentioned before, it's comprehensive plan urging us to do compact development, walkable. I didn't mention that this also, is in direct conflict with Vision Zero goals, inviting more conflict points between pedestrians and automobiles is not going to promote Vision Zero. So I guess those are my comments. Oh, I guess also, Mayor, thank you for the suggestion. I did go before the Healthy Neighborhoods Committee, and I spoke about the types of developments and generically speaking, the types of neighborhood developments that I would like to see within our priority neighborhoods.
Other comments? Seeing none, we should take it to a vote. All in favor of Resolution R 18124, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Do we got that, Tracy? Motion carries. Moving on, Dave.
Approval of Resolution R 18924, granting an underground electric easement in Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map 5147 Nine Springs Golf Course.
Second.
Public Works approved.
And approved.
Parks approved. This is, MG&E is putting in a loop, redundant loop of the electric system in the area, and they need this easement to install the underground cable for this looping redundancy for the neighborhood.
Any comments, questions? Jay?
Yeah, Dave, is this a 13.8 loop, or what are they doing?
Jay, you asked me a question I should know. It's either 13.8 or 24.9. Maybe Tim knows. I don't know MG&E's distribution voltage in the area. It's either 13.8 or 24.9.
Yeah, the distribution voltage is 13.8. I just
they have
wonder
some
what they're
24.9 also.
Yeah, if they're using this for redundancy.
If they're using what, Jay?
If they're using it for redundancy, I wonder what it might not be a standard distribution voltage.
Oh yeah, I think it is. They loop. They they create a loop so that an area can be fed from
Right.
one source or the other. And I think it's either 13.8 or 24.9, depending on,
Well,
you know, what.
Tim has roused up, so.
Yeah.
I do not know what the voltage is.
Oh.
Jay, I think it's highly likely you're correct that the 13.8 is the phase-to-phase voltage on the distribution in the area.
Okay.
If there's no other questions, we can go ahead and vote. All in favor of Resolution R 18924, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'll move approval of Resolution R 20924, amending 2024 water, sewer, and stormwater fund budgets, repairs, chemicals, postage, and other expenses.
Second.
Board of Public Works approved.
Finance approved.
We had higher costs for these items this year, and we are using interest from accounts to pay these costs. We discussed this at Board of Public Works, and Tim can chime in, but we'll be looking to update our future budgets. But this, I believe, requires a 2/3 approval of council on this one.
Comments, questions? I'll ask for a roll call.
Thank you, Alder Gerhart. Alder Allen.
Aye.
Alder Dantzler Jr.
Aye.
Alder Gerhart.
Aye.
Alder Herbst.
Aye.
Alder Jetzer.
Aye.
Alder Maldonado.
Aye.
Alder Vafadari.
Aye.
Alder Wheeler's absent. Motion carried.
Thank you. Next, we'll move approval of Resolution R 21224, acceptance of Fitchburg Tower D bid.
Second.
Public Works approved.
Finance approved with an amendment.
Okay. This was we discussed this at Public Works. This tower, the successful bidder and the contingency is about $4.2 million for this tower to be built at North Storm of Prairie. Wanted to thank Don Gutowski on our Board of Public Works. Looking through it thoroughly, he saw there was an item for $80,000 in security on there. We questioned it. Tim dug into it, and the contractor had slipped a zero. It was supposed to be $8,000. So we kept our contingency was a little low, so we kept the price. Our bid, the number is still $4.2 million, but the contractor lowered his number by $72,000.
Yeah, Bill, can you make a motion for the amendment from Finance?
I'll move to amend as consistent with what came out of the Finance Committee, which is just to say, in the final whereas clause, the low bid is listed as $4,088,000, so we're just subtracting $72,000 there and bringing it down to $4,016,000. And then in the first be it hereby resolved clause, again, the same $4,088,000 is adjusted to $4,016,000, and then changing keeping the $72,000, just moving it to contingency. So we change the percentage from 5 to 6, and then the contingency from $204,400 to $276,400 for the same total of roughly $4.3 million.
Thank you, Bill.
Yes, we also directed staff to make the appropriate adjustment to the contract and to the pre-approval.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that amendment? All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Amendment passes. Any further discussion on the actual resolution? Dave or Tim? No? Great. Oh, Jay.
Yeah, where is this tower going?
Tower's on the east side of the city, near the intersection of 14 and Lacey.
Okay.
It'd be the northeast quadrant there of that intersection.
All right.
Northwest?
Yeah, so we're
Northeast.
And so where was Tower F supposed to go?
I can't answer that one. I don't know where Tower F is supposed to go.
Well, Tim, do you know where Tower F was supposed to go? Because it says that
Yeah,
you're gonna.
Tower F's off.
This says you're going to rebudget for Tower F in 2025 or 2026.
Yeah, so Tower F is east of Glacier Valley Road, either on Promega or Blaney land. The city currently doesn't own the land, but has had some preliminary discussions with both property owners.
And is there a Tower E? Or is that just...
It's a... Tower E is existing.
Okay, where is that one?
That's all. I believe
Commerce.
Tower E is Commerce.
Commerce Park up on the hill.
Okay. So how did we skip Tower D? I don't remember us demolishing a water tower.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure on the history of the naming and how we jumped around from letters.
Okay. And is there an architectural rendering of this tower? Do we know what's going to be painted on it?
That has not been determined, but the drawings are shown within the packet. But as far as the logo, I don't believe that's been determined yet.
Okay.
Are you requesting something, Jay?
Well, Dave, do you
The
remember the
shamrock.
big controversy about putting shamrocks on the tower?
I do, Jay.
And I think that's one of the few identifying things that we have in the city. And at the time, it was a huge controversy about. I think it increased the cost of the painting by like $20,000. It's undoubtedly more now, but I would like us to look into. We do have one tower that's painted in that scheme, and I would like us to look at using that with the shamrocks on the tower. So it says Fitchburg and it has shamrocks. I'm sure you're acutely aware of this, Tim.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Sorry, just to ask here, are we asking that there be a $20,000 line item added to add shamrocks to a tower?
No, I'm not specifically asking for that today because that would require a budget amendment that we don't have on the table. But I would like us to look into that. I would like us to look into using that logo.
I've got it noted, Jay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we can vote. All in favor of Resolution R 21224, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'll move approval of Resolution R 21824, preliminary resolution for Lacey Road, water main, sanitary sewer, and road improvements.
Second.
Public Works approved.
Finance approved.
Tim, do you want to handle this one?
Yes, so this is the preliminary assessment for the work that was done during the Lacey Road reconstruction project. This is on the O'Brien Flats property for water, sewer, stormwater, and improvements to the roadway for turn lanes. So the property owner had signed a property waiver of assessment to hold a public hearing. So this allows us to authorizes staff to go to the preliminary assessment without a hearing.
Thank you, Tim.
Questions, comments? All in favor of Resolution R 21824, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, I'll move approval of Resolution R 22124, accepting subdivision improvements for Phase 3 in the plat of Highfield Reserve.
Second.
Public Works approved. the subdivision improvements have been conditionally inspected and approved by the city, and so we are accepting these improvements.
Questions? Seeing none, all in favor of Resolution R 22124, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, I'll move approval of ordinance 2024-033, amending Chapter 68 to lower the speed limit on West Clayton Road to 25 miles per hour. This was postponed from November 26th.
Second.
Public Works approved.
TTC approved.
So with the railroad crossing closing off one end of this, its access out to Syene, it's dead-ended at one end, essentially dead-ended at the other end, and it comes out onto Syene, I guess that would be there, or is that Syene or? Yeah. So it would be standard residential street now, so 25 would be the appropriate speed for a neighborhood like this now.
Any comments from TTC, Bill?
No, I think that about sums it up.
Great. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor of Ordinance 2024-033, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, I'll move approval resolution R20824, approval of the 2025 through 2030 Parks and Open Space Recreation Plan.
Second.
Parks approved.
Plan approved after sending feedback.
We had Steve Arnold came and spoke to Parks on this, mostly related to access. Two things. One was access to schools, which we didn't think we didn't feel that belonged in the Parks and Open Space Plan. And one other point, I'm sorry, I apologize, Mr. Arnold, I can't remember what it was, but I believe Steve was the only one that came and spoke to the planner, asked for any changes to it. It is a comprehensive document. If you haven't read it, I would encourage you. Parks are important to our. All surveys indicate that our parks are very important to our quality of life of our residents, and so encourage you to become familiar with what's in the plan. And again, it's a plan, but it is also kind of a living document.
Questions, comments? Bill?
I did go through it somewhat, and I just have a couple of comments. The land acknowledgement at the beginning, I think, was a nice touch. And the change from, alternative transportation to active transportation in various places, I think was also nice. I had a question on the Fish Hatchery Road multi-use path versus greenway versus, I think we had several different iterations of language there, and I'm curious to know how we settled on what we settled on here. Scott, if you had a few words.
Well, is Deanna there?
She has left.
It's up to you, man.
I would say that it's up to me. Well, and in fairness too, there was a lot of comments that included the Greenway discussions, and I really deferred to Dee and Brad as the professional planners within the community to determine, what might be the appropriate location for the Greenway and those kinds of things. And we came to the conclusion that would be best to be included in the bike and ped plan update. So that's the reason that it changed a bit of definition in the park and open space plan.
Okay. Couple more things. Kyle Steigert's last name is misspelled. There should be no T immediately preceding the G. And there was one other edit. Let's see, where is it? On page 98, the Harlan Hills stormwater pond photo is rotated 90 degrees.
Thank you.
Maybe we call those friendly amendments.
Yeah.
Other comments, questions? Dave.
Madam Chairman, I would just encourage you, there was there's something called the Moraine Edge Park that's a conceptual thing for the south edge of the area that would link east and west across the city, you know, linking quite a few neighborhoods, and it's something that's been on the radar, you know, quite a while, and so it'll probably be something we'll be hearing about. Whether we move ahead with it, I hope so. It won't be easy, won't be cheap, but I think it would be something that'd be beneficial for the city. You know, I would add that when the Capital City Bike Trail was pushed through the city, it tied a lot of things together, and I think this would be a worthy thing. But like I say, it's not going to be easy, it's not going to be cheap. That's all.
Bill.
Yeah, one more thing. Page 98, there was verbiage about a Nine Springs Creek water trail that was crossed out. I'm curious to know about that.
And if I recall, it was named differently, but I'll double check with Brad and Dee on that.
I just want to echo Dave's comment about the Marine Edge Park. I think it's a really beautiful idea. It had been removed from the CIP, and a park commissioner brought it to me, and we added it back in by amendment to the CIP in 2020. And so I'm really happy it's in the plan. And as you said, Dave, it's really expensive and it might not be feasible, but it's worth laying out a vision for what's possible, and we should at least explore the possibility and not nick something before we've really fully explored it. So I do hope it's something that might come to fruition in time.
I put that in the CIP in 2009.
Well, we all love it.
You're a visionary, G.
Julia.
Yes, one of the things in the action plan, I don't see any time frame. And this is a comment that I made in Plan Commission several times, so I don't know.
Well, in actually within the action plan, the list of action plans, we did create a color coding that kind of indicated the years in which it would be prioritized. And then actually what we did too is for the immediate action items, we did include a funding source. I know that was another thing that you raised at the Plan Commission, Mayor.
But do you mention, I am trying to look in the document. I have one screen, so it's difficult for me now. Do you explain what are the different colors mean?
Yes, it's at the beginning of that.
At the beginning? Okay.
Yeah. And frankly, that's really going to be the guiding, kind of the guiding timeline of the action items and how they're going to be prioritized. So that was really good.
Okay, okay.
Other comments?
One second. I am trying to see if I see what I am trying.
I'll just make a quick comment. I'm really happy that we're finally at the point where we're accepting this. It's good to have an update of this plan. So I'm happy to see this finally come through.
Okay, I have a question. Can you tell me where it mentioned the priority? What does it mean, the color? I am trying to look for this. I cannot find it.
Let me.
There is a priority level. Yeah, there is like a table with different priority 1, 2, 3, different colors, but I don't see. This one is like the priority means 1 year. Oh, there. I'll find it. It's in a small print. Okay. Yeah. It's there. Okay. Yeah. So I also want to comment that I am happy that after almost very too long year. We finished this project plan, and this is a plan. We had to continue. I think we need to continually revise this annually to see, when we do the action plan, because this is a living document, like David mentioned. You know what I mean? And parks are very important for our residents. The park system is something that we have to maintain, fund, invest. You know what I mean? So I am glad that we are done with this plan.
Sense that updating it yearly would be the way to go. Then it's not a large. You're not doing a big effort every 5 years. You're doing incremental work. So, thank you for that suggestion.
Seeing no more comments, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of Resolution R 208-24, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Scott. Any other updates from Park Commission, Dave?
Just that we've approved the Southdale, the conceptual plan, and Scott is working with the consultant to get the bids together to get it out to constructors to get this completed. So there'll probably be parts of it, and we'll probably get some things done next year, and part of it the following year.
Thanks, Dave.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Jay.
Scott, on the Southdale plan, how many potential designs do you think we're going to see from whoever we end up contracting with?
Well, the Park Commission did approve the final concept plan, Jay.
Right.
So they'll, you mean designs as far as what the bathroom facility might look like, or the playground?
Well, I mean, what the type of playground equipment we might have out there.
What we'll do is we'll work through the Park Commission and we'll come up with some different options, and then the Park Commission will come up with some recommendations, through the next, part of the planning process for the park.
So the specific question was, how many different options do you think we might come up with? Like 2 or 3 or 10 or 12?
Yeah, I would say 2 or 3 probably.
Okay.
That's another part to other playground designs.
All right, thank you. Moving on to other commission reports. Library Board, Jim Wheeler is absent, so we'll move on to Commission on Aging Well. Donald?
We meet tomorrow morning.
Great.
Thursday morning. Thank you.
Resource Conservation Commission, Bill?
We did not meet in December, so we will meet again in January.
TTC, Bill?
Yes, we met on December 5th, which is a week early, so that we could consider the speed limit change on West Clayton Road. We also talked about a resolution basically of our intent to, at some point, implement Vision Zero in the city. And traffic engineer Ross Kaler walked us through the north-south BRT 30% design. So we looked at all the stations and traffic light changes, et cetera, that will come along with the north-south line.
Thanks, Bill. Sita?
Yeah, we met last week and talked about a lot of things. One of them, what consumed most of the meeting, was a discussion with a couple of investors who do nonprofit investment primarily, and they may be looking at some projects in Fitchburg. They were involved with helping to fund the work center that the Boys and Girls Club has, and so we're hoping to see if they have any other ideas they might want to do. And I think that's it.
Great. Next is Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee. Nicole?
We have not met since our last meeting, and we'll be meeting in the new year.
Bike and Ped Committee. Joe?
We met this morning, and the bulk of our time was spent speaking with the consultant who's going to be updating the bike and pedestrian plan. It's a really good presentation. It seems like they've really studied Fitchburg and understand. And two things that were mentioned that I think are important. One, we talked about kind of aligning with other plans because we have a lot of plans in the city, and sometimes consultants may not look at other plans when they're looking at this one. It seems like they have a way to be able to do that. They also emphasize that this isn't necessarily a whole rewrite to the bike and ped plan, but it's mainly an update.
Great. Next is EMS Commission. Jim is absent, so we will move on to Healthy Neighborhoods Committee. Jay?
Oh, we had stuff. On behalf of the Healthy Neighborhoods Committee, I would move approval of Resolution R 21424, approving a contract with Dane County to accept the 2025 Neighborhood Navigator funding.
Second.
Did H&I approved?
We did.
Finance approved.
You want to fill us in, Jay?
This is just the navigator who works in our programs. We accept this every year, and it's funding that comes from the county, so we don't have to pay for it. Yay.
Any comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor of Resolution R 21424, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Madam Chairman, just a question for the mayor and Jay. Have you found another replacement for another H&I committee member?
I was going to get to that.
Yeah. I think I saw no nays, so I think motion carried.
All right.
Any new committee members? Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, so our chair, Ryan Helsman, who has been a member of the committee for, I think, since it started, and has been our most recent chair, has resigned. I don't know that we found anybody yet. Maybe the mayor knows of anybody who's interested, but I have been asking around, so hopefully we'll be able to get somebody. But I think... well, please let me know.
I'll talk
send
to
it
her
to me.
and have her send in
Or send it to the mayor because she has to make the appointment. Yeah. In other news, the H&I committee, at our meeting last week, we started working on our section of the strategic plan. And I think it was the consensus of most of the committee members that the H&I portion of the strategic plan was put together by people who really didn't have any idea what these neighborhoods are about. So the plan is based on 6 pillars, which are very unclear. And the bigger problem is that the 2 things that we hear most often from residents in these neighborhoods is housing security and food security, and those things aren't even discussed in these pillars. So we're going to have some extensive rewrites to this. My gut feeling is we're probably going to end up just ditching the whole thing and starting over. But as the discussion went on at HNI, there was a feeling that the members of the committee would like to be more involved in, and especially since Bill came and talked to us, the members of the committee would like to be more involved in some of the other aspects of neighborhood planning that they currently don't have direct control over. So they would like to look at what types of housing, they'd like to kind of look at housing plans in these neighborhoods. They would like to look at the whole planning process. What are we doing? What is from our planning perspective, what are we doing to address the food insecurity issues? All four of those neighborhoods are basically food deserts, so we need other options than what we've been doing so far. So I don't know how this is going to play out in real life yet because we've just started this discussion, but I did mention at the CETA meeting that H&I would like to be involved in some of the housing issues because that's part of, in order to have the neighborhood be healthy, people have to feel more secure about both their housing and their food. So that's what I have to report from my committee.
Thanks, Jay. Next is Landmarks Preservation Commission. Jay.
I have nothing to report.
Next is Tree Advisory Committee. Nicole.
Yes, we do not meet again till the new year. Just a quick edit. I was incorrect on the Rural and Ag Committee. We meet next week on Tuesday at 4.
Thank you. I also skipped Housing Advisory Committee, which is me. We canceled our December meeting and we'll meet again, I think, on January 13th is what we're planning on. Now we can go to Community Equity Committee, Donald. And I don't know if you've heard, but we need to postpone the resolution to January 28th.
Okay. The mission and vision that was sent to the mayor, she also had some changes, and then some of those are some suggested changes. Those are still being discussed with the committee. So once that's updated, we'll have a further update back to council, and then it'll go back to the mayor for approval, and then I'll share what comes out of those conclusions. But we met today for our last meeting until the new year.
Wonderful. And do you want to make the motion to postpone the resolution? I think it's under Community Equity Committee.
Postponement to January 28th.
I don't have the resolution like
R196-24.
I move to postpone resolution R19624 until the new year.
January 28th.
January what?
28th.
January 28th.
Can I get a second?
Second.
And this is just not ready to Chad, you want to comment more?
Yeah, so as you'll recall, there was a presentation on the strategic plan at the last Common Council meeting, as well as the last Community Equity Committee meeting. And as I mentioned in the administrator's report, the consultant is accepting feedback on the plan through the end of the day on December 12th. And that will, by postponing till January 28th, that affords the consultant time to evaluate the feedback and make the appropriate revisions.
All in favor of postponing our... Oh, I'm sorry, Jay, go ahead.
So how will that play out with the desire of H&I to basically rewrite their entire section?
Well, the Common Council did not refer that document to H&I, so I guess perhaps we'd have to regroup and assess how that would be potentially incorporated. I think all of the alders were notified during the presentation a couple of weeks ago that feedback would be accepted through December 12th. I don't know how H&I ended up taking it up since it was not a referral there.
Well, I think it was just brought to us by staff because most of the members of H&I did not even know that there was a strategic plan with a H&I component to it. So, I don't know that we're going to have time before January. What day did you say?
28th.
28th. Yeah, I mean, we'll have a meeting before then, but I don't know if we're going to have time to rewrite. I mean, I can communicate with the committee and see what they'd like to do, but they're really not happy with the way that section is written at all. And I don't know if any of you have had any time to read it, but the H&I section is awful. It's just awful.
Okay, but I sent you that strategic planning, like, I don't know, at the end of October to you guys for review.
Well, not to our committee. We didn't see it. The committee didn't see it.
No, I know, but I sent it to you too, but we didn't get too many feedback from council members. So this is what we are still asking you to send us, feedback. So I don't know if you want to send this to H&I, it will delay the process, and we are paying the consultant. So the idea could be maybe, we can approve this or no, whatever you decided at the end of January, and then it's going to be a living document to that. So maybe we can add, the revision when the H&I finish their strategic planning, but you are still working with you're at the beginning of modifying the strategic plan for the H&I. So I don't know.
Well, I would prefer
it could
that.
delay everything.
I would prefer that we get it right before we approve it. But that's just my preference.
Okay. Yeah, I think you are right in the sense that maybe we forgot to send it to H&I. Yes. It was a big component about H&I in that strategic plan. Yes. It was an oversight.
Joe has some comments as well. Joe?
Yeah, this will be more of a foreshadowing just because I know this meeting's running late, but I did read the document fully, and I think there's just some, I don't know how salvageable the plan is, to be honest with you, and I think there's some really key components that are missing that, Allison admittedly said that she's not equipped to and experienced in doing, and I guess my wondering is if we get the plan back and we still don't feel like it's up to par or salvageable, I'm assuming that just means we would reject it as a council. Is that correct from a procedural standpoint?
As it stands now, yes, there is a resolution that would adopt the strategic plan. And ultimately, if the council did not approve that resolution, then the strategic plan would not be adopted.
So we have a
So the question.
Go ahead, Mayor.
No, my question is to the council is if you think that we need to refer this to H&I.
Chad just looked it up, and it sounds like they meet the first Wednesday of the month. So what day would that be? January 1st? No. January 8th. We could refer it out. The question, I think, then becomes, I know Allison was planning to start her revisions after the final, December 12th? Would we want to delay revisions until after we've had H&I had a chance to give feedback? I don't know what that looks like, and I don't know if Allison would be invited to come to that meeting or if it would just be a discussion that was relayed to her afterward.
I don't know.
I'll just offer.
Well, I would ask that we extend the time for comments until after the H&I meeting, our next H&I meeting. And I'll send a message out to the committee tomorrow and just tell them, hey, there's a faster timeline on this than what I thought. So, they'd like to have us have some pretty full revisions by, January 8th. And I don't know that gives us enough time between January 8th and January 29th or whatever day it was that we were going to have the meeting. But
we could always postpone it again if we need to.
Yeah, I mean, we spent over an hour talking about it. So there's some pretty significant interest in what's going on the committee regarding how this should be a guiding document.
I need a motion to extend the meeting by 30 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor of extending the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Jay, go ahead.
I'm done.
Jed, guidance, if you have any.
I'll share the feedback with the consultant, and obviously was referenced by the consultant in regards to what the scope of the request for proposal was during the presentation, as well as the indication that I think the original timeline for this project was approximately 6 months, and it was kicked off in March of 24. So we'll be ultimately closing in on a 12-month process here. But we'll get an update from the consultant and share that information with the Common Council.
How does the referral to H&I work? Should we do that now, regardless of, or?
I think in light of the fact that it's already been discussed, I think it can just be agended at the next meeting.
For discussion. Okay. All right.
Okay. What is the plan?
So the plan would be is to postpone, the motion on the table is to postpone until January 28th. H&I will have it agended, and we'll reach out to the consultant for further conversation and update the council as to the outcome of that conversation.
Okay.
All right. Knowing that that's the plan, the motion on the table is to postpone until January 28th. All in favor of postponing R 19624, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next is reports from other committees and commissions, and I don't believe we have anybody since Jim is out. Then we go to standing committee reports. Finance Committee. Bill.
Yes, I'll start off just embellishing the update that Administrator Brecklin had given us in his report. To reiterate, tax bills were sent to the printer last week, should go out in the mail tomorrow. Access Dane should be updated sometime on Friday. And Misty is working with FACTv on getting some explainer videos on how the tax bills work. We sent a total of 8,906 tax bills out, which is down just a bit, but that's because we didn't have to send out personal property tax bills this year because that is no longer a thing. And another cool feature of the software that we've upgraded to is that when you pay your property taxes, you should be able to see that receipt of payment on Access Dane 24 hours later. That is my update for Finance Committee. I will move on to the resolutions. I'll move approval of Resolution R 19824, Internet Services for the Hub Facility.
Second.
The finance approved.
Finance approved. Nick, do you want to take this, or should I give a little summary?
Oh, either or, but I can speak to it real quick. It's pretty straightforward in the sense that this is internet connectivity for the hub, allowing us to provide security aspects such as video cameras and door access for that building.
Any comments, questions? All in favor of Resolution R 19824, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Next.
I'll move approval of Resolution R 19924, Hub Facility Door Access Controls.
Second.
Finance approved.
Awesome.
Nick, did you want to take this again?
Sure. Similarly, as described, this is the contract to award the installation of the door access system, which would be an expansion of the systems used in all our other buildings for the hub facility.
Seeing nothing, no questions, I can take it to a vote. All in favor of Resolution R 19924, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I'll move approval of Resolution R-21024, amending the 2024 Debt and Capital Project Fund budgets, unused budgeted interest and principal payment, payment on special assessments, and excess interest revenue to reduce future debt issuance.
Second.
Finance approved. Misty, since you're on, why don't you give us the rundown?
Sure. So this is an exercise we do every year to make sure that we stay a bona fide debt service fund, meaning it's limited how much money we can retain in the debt service fund without being applied to principal and interest payments. So the benefit of going through this exercise is it will reduce our future debt issuance amounts, which saves the city on interest costs and debt issuance amounts. So there are 3 buckets of funds, of which I'm proposing we use to buy down future debt issuance. One is 3 payments on a deferred special assessment, which we can use to reimburse ourselves for the tax levy that we used to pay for the debt on that project originally, and then that frees up that levy. Second bucket is the principal and interest payment on the debt we issued in 2024. There was no principal payment, and the debt interest payment was less than we expected it to be, and then the amount that was the interest payment was fully covered by premium that was awarded on the debt. So those amounts can be repurposed. And then finally, looking at the interest revenue in the account for the last 3 years, 22, 23, and 24, the interest revenue was higher than what we budgeted for. So would like to redirect that funding also to reduce the amount of borrowing. All 3 of those buckets I'd like to use to reduce the amount of borrowing for the police services facility, because it's our big project that we are currently working on. This resolution does not change how much we are budgeted to spend on the police facility in total. It just changes the funding source of it to reduce the amount that we'll borrow and use this cash funding instead. When you add all 3 buckets, it's about $2.7 million. So again, this will save the city on interest cost and also keep us a bona fide debt service fund.
Questions, comments? It's pretty great. Happy to hear that. We can do this. Seeing nothing else, all in favor of... Oh, I'm sorry, this is 2/3. Tracy, can you do a roll call?
Thank you. Alder Allen.
Aye.
Alder Dancer Jr.
Aye.
Alder Gerhart.
Aye.
Alder Herbst.
Aye.
Alder Jutser.
Aye.
Alder Maldonado.
Aye.
Alder Vafadari.
Aye.
Wheeler is absent. Motion carried.
All right, I will move on and move approval of Resolution R-21624, approving the replacement of CIP data center switches.
Second.
Finance approved. Once again, Mr. Joseph.
Thank you. This is to replace our switches at the data center. We have a set of them, or they're at the end of their lifespan, and they are reaching what's referred to as end of support. And we are going to refresh those items. They are typically on a 7-year cycle, and we are at that cycle. There are some that do possess some additional life, which we will repurpose at other locations to basically offset some other costs of other items that are going to be end of life.
All right, seeing no other questions or concerns, we can take a vote. All in favor of Resolution R-21624, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, I will move approval of Resolution R-22224, authorizing and approving a budget amendment to establish a community history display celebrating the history, development, and diversity of the city of Fitchburg.
Second.
Finance approved. So this would be a display near the front of, or near the entryway of City Hall here, where the wall of mayors used to be, and it would, in conjunction with the Fitchburg Historical Society, we would have a display there, basically dedicated to the history of Fitchburg, educational components and artistry there. Mayor Radafrada, did you want to say a few words on this at all?
Yeah, so yeah, the idea is to create like you mentioned, a history wall, adding some, components of our history, evolution of the city. And I got this idea visiting other places that other municipalities of other, you can see that in hospital, and they have that sometimes that history of the organization. And I think this is a great idea to use that wall to do that. So we already talked to a graphic designer to see, if that can be possible and how much it's gonna cost. And this is where we got that amount.
And this funding would come from TID closure.
Questions? Seeing none. All in favor of Resolution R 22224, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Oh, any opposed? Motion carries. At the end of finance, we can...
Like that. You said for this one or no?
No.
No? Okay.
And then next is Personnel Committee. Donald, anything?
Nope, just that we are continuing the ongoing police and fire union delegations, so our deliberations that we're doing. So that's continued.
Great. Anything from Public Safety and Human Services?
No.
We can move on to unfinished business. There is none, no items, so we can move on to new business.
I'll move approval of Resolution R 21924, accepting subdivision improvements for Phase 1A and 1B in the Hartung Fields Plat.
Second.
Public Works approved.
Great.
So again, this has been inspected by city staff and found to be, subdivision improvements have been found to be acceptable, and we are, this agreement acknowledges that we accept these.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of Resolution R 21924, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
Next, move approval of Resolution R 22424, authorizing replacement of air handler controls.
Second.
Board of Public Works approved.
Finance approved.
This is an emergency repair. These are the original controls. Many things in this building, including the roof, and other things have not lasted this long. I was surprised. These were the original. Right now, we are operating the air controls manually. And it's roughly, there's three of these, roughly $10,000 a piece. And this is essentially an emergency replacement. We cannot continue to be operating these manually. It's not a long-term solution.
Comments, questions? Seems an important change.
Yep.
All in favor of Resolution R 22424, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, I move postponement of Resolution R 22524 until the January 14th meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? We just
some punch list items still remaining.
great. All in favor of postponing R 22524, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Then we move on to an action on claim, but we would like to actually do the consideration of the settlement offer first. So can I get a motion to move? I think we have to move all the items, right? Can I get
Moving,
a motion to move
FG
F, G,
and
H, and I to now in the agenda?
So moved.
All in favor of bending the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So we are now on consideration of settlement offer from Goldleaf Fitchburg LLC excessive tax assessment suit. Valerie, just turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. And on with us on the call or on the Zoom, we have Attorney Amy Seibel as well. The city did receive an offer to settle this case, and before we discuss it, I'm wondering if the council might want to entertain a motion to go into closed session to consider this proposed settlement and discuss litigation strategy.
I would move that we go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 1985 1G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. And this is regarding the claim for Goldleaf Fitchburg LLC excessive tax assessment suit.
Second.
All in favor of going into closed session, say aye.
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 Opposed?
I want to mention that, oh, sorry.
Motion carries. We are
Yeah.
in closed session.
I
All in favor of going into open session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I believe we can.
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
will move denial of the settlement offer from Goldleaf Fitchburg LLC excessive tax assessment suit.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor of denial, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion, and I also need a motion to extend the meeting.
So moved.
So 30 minutes? This time is good? Okay.
30 minutes, yeah, because
30 minutes.
an hour was going to do it before.
All in favor of extending the meeting 30 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are extended. And the next item is going to be, anyway, can we do a motion or?
You'd want to go to closed session to take up.
Okay. The next item is action on claim WHPC Brookstone Fitchburg LLC. Can I get a motion to go into closed session?
I would move that we go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 1985 1G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, and the claim is for WHPC Brookstone Fitchburg LLC, 2859 Eggeman Road.
Second.
All in favor of going into closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are going into closed session. Jay?
Oh, I'll move we go back into open session.
Second.
All in favor of going to open session, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are back in open session. And I believe we have a motion.
I will move that we deny the claim from WHPC Brookstone Fitchburg LLC at 2859 Eggeman Road.
Second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor of the denial, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Claim is denied. Next item of business is Alder District reports. If anyone has any quick, we can just go down the line starting with Dave if anyone has anything. No? Great. Greater Heights Climate Gym has their opening tomorrow, 4 p.m. Awesome gym.
We're still having route cancellations on Route 65. I thought when he was here, he told us that they had all been resolved, but apparently they have not.
Disappointing.
We did get an email. Did you see that update that we got?
There was one just
recently from Logan.
Yeah.
Anything from you, Bill? I tell you. No?
No.
Okay, great. If we can wrap that up. Next item of business is announcements. Our next common council meeting will be January 14, 2025. And our next committee of the whole meeting will be January 22nd, 2025.
Move for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Happy holidays. We're adjourned at 11:46 p.m. Thanks.